Part 39. Fringe Artists in the Entertainment Industry. Author, Chizu de Xiaomao. Chapter 396. Chapter 382-381. Constant Twists and Turns. Romance is often related to destruction, and broken roses are more touching than intact ones. The white petals scattered on the ground, the thorny branches that had lost their flowers, and the deep red marks on the fair skin all made people shudder. If you don't believe it, look at Sophie Marceau lying on the sofa and shaking constantly, like a convulsion. Pata. The little toy that Sophie Marceau had given to Chen Lian was squeezed out again after he returned it to Sophie Marceau. It rolled in a circle on the ground, reflecting pink light spots on the ground. The place where the small toys were originally placed was like rose petals in full bloom. Chen Lian could only lean over and press on them. I don't know how long it took, but the roses in the flower pots on the terrace were swaying in the breeze, their pink petals opening and closing, already covered with morning dew. Chen Lian sat on the terrace and smoked quietly, looking at the sun that was about to rise in the sky. What a wonderful night and an exciting morning. Sophie Marceau was still resting in the room, and Chen Lian had already changed his clothes and went out. Paris Fashion Week is coming to an end tonight, and Chen Lian, as a participating designer, cannot be absent. As for whether Sophie Marceau can attend on time tonight, it depends on how well she rests. At around 4 o'clock in the afternoon, Jifa and Wang Zuxian came to the hotel to find Chen Lian. Chen Lian will leave in a few days, and Jifa and Wang Zuxian still have many things to communicate with him. Jifa still had some complaints about Chen Lian staying in the hotel. He used to stay at her house when he came to Paris, but now he ran out to stay in the hotel. Jifa felt that Chen Lian had betrayed her, but luckily Wang Zuxian was with her, otherwise she would have come to the hotel to execute Chen Lian on the spot. In the hotel's executive lounge, Chen Lian, who had just finished a conference call with Li Fuzhen, looked at Jifa and asked, "How was your chat with Bernard?" Jifa smiled and said, "Not bad, he is very interested in our project. LVMH Group's market in Asia is not big now. He is happy to cooperate with us to establish a luxury brand unique to the East. That's good. Although we can do it ourselves, it will be easier with their help." Chen Lian is not originally a solitary person. Sometimes when his career reaches a certain point, trying to be a solitary person is tantamount to failure. Unless Chen Lian is only in China and only plays in things that are not on the stage at all, such as the entertainment industry. Wang Zuxian looked at Chen Lian and said with admiration, "The success is entirely because your design stunned the whole of Paris. This is the first time that the international fashion industry has been shocked by Oriental beauty." Chen Lian took a sip of the strong whiskey, frowned and said, "This is not my credit, it is a treasure left by generations of ancestors. I just took them out." But in any case, Chen Lian brought these things out, and fortunately succeeded. Now the fashion industry is very interested in Oriental aesthetics. These people in the fashion circle have seen too many cookie-cutter things, and when they finally find something refreshing, they naturally don't want to miss it. Many luxury brands are even looking for cooperation with Chen Lian, hoping to add some Oriental aesthetic elements to next season's products. Chen Lian has no interest in designing for others. He is still making preparations, so he has no time to design for others. Chen Lian basically had no objections after reading the brand plan made by Jifa and Wang Zuxian. Women's minds are more delicate in this regard, and Jifa also has a pattern and vision that ordinary men don't have. Chen Lian couldn't find anything. What needs to be modified? Then let's follow this plan. Chen Lian handed the plan back to Jifa and said, "You have done a good job. I can only do some easy things." Jifa snorted and said, "You know how to be lazy, let us women do things for you." Chen Lian raised his eyebrows slightly and glanced at Jifa strangely, "Don't you always like to take the initiative? You shake and shake every time." Jifa understood Chen Lian's eyes and couldn't help but kick his feet under the table, but Chen Lian only felt the touch of silky stockings, not hard high heels. While Wang Zuxian wasn't paying attention, Jifa secretly made a lip sync to Chen Lian. Chen Lian pretended not to see it and said to Wang Zuxian, "I'm going to New York in a few days. Let's go out with you tomorrow." "Okay," Wang Zuxian said happily. Looking at Chen Lian, who was deliberately ignoring him, Jifa kicked him several times under the table, causing the stockings on his feet to become wrinkled. Soon it came to the end of the evening, and the French Fashion Association also presented an award to Chen Lian. Chen Lian found it quite interesting. He was originally just an actor. He crossed over several times and won the biggest awards in the industry. Instead, after working in the actor industry for several years, he only won one Golden Rooster Award. This thing is really interesting. Chen Lian felt that he would be sorry if he didn't win one of the 3 awards. He had won so many awards in Europe, and not winning the best actor would really lower his level. In the next 2 days, Chen Lian accompanied Wang Zuxian in Paris and had a lot of fun, and then he was leaving Paris. Paris Fashion Week has been delayed for a long time. Li Fujian is too busy in New York. Chen Lian will not be able to explain it if he doesn't go there. The models who led the team are now returning to China, and Chen Lian went to the airport with them. With Song Huigui taking care of them, Chen Lian felt relieved. While waiting at the airport, Zhang Beizi took the initiative to approach Chen Lian. After that night, Zhang Beizi always felt very relaxed when facing Chen Lian. "Perhaps the most embarrassing side of me has been shown in front of Chen Lian, but instead I have developed a kind of dependence, and I will regard myself as a weak point in front of him." In psychology, such a sign is already a precursor to M. Seeing Zhang Beizi's timid look, Chen Lian didn't feel any emotion at all. He just asked lightly, "What do you want from me?" Zhang Beizi looked at Chen Lian's cold look and felt no displeasure in his heart. Instead, he felt that this attitude was the right one. If Chen Lian smiled at her, she would feel uncomfortable. "I want to thank you. When can we see you next time?" Chen Lian looked at Zhang Beizi's expectant eyes and raised his fingers at her. Zhang Beizi immediately took a step forward and waited for Chen Lian's answer. After Chen Lian whispered a few words into Zhang Beizi's ear, he stood up and prepared to board the plane. Li Shui, who had been following Chen Lian, also heard what Chen Lian just said to Zhang Beizi. He blushed and handed her his business card and said, "Miss Zhang, this is my business card. If you encounter anything in the future, please call me anytime. Call Mr. Chen. Mr. Chen also needs to go through me." Li Shui is still not used to calling Chen Lian Mr. Chen, but is used to calling him Teacher Chen. Chen Lian no longer wants to be Teacher Chen, he just wants to be Mr. Chen or Painter Chen. Zhang Beizi looked at the exquisitely crafted business card in his hand and knew that he would have someone to rely on in the future, but whether he could last long would depend on his own efforts. Zhang Beizi first memorized the numbers on the business card, and then carefully put away the business card. On the plane flying to New York, Chen Lian wore headphones and listened to music, but his attention was entirely on the laptop on the small table. Li Fujian sent an email in the morning. Chen Lian looked at the detailed report on the preparations for the magic flute, and a hint of joy gradually appeared in his eyebrows. Everything is going very smoothly, and several major music copyright dealers in Hollywood have reached cooperation intentions with Li Fujian. The construction of the website is also gradually progressing, and the Magic Flute press conference is also being planned. Li Fujian is now actively marketing the Magic Flute music player through the contacts he accumulated while studying in the United States. Everything is on track. The only bad news is that Samsung's MP3 player is scheduled to be launched in New York at the end of November. The time is only 3 days behind the Magic Flute's plan. These 3 days are likely to be brought forward. If it is preempted, things will become troublesome. Chen Lian closed his eyes and thought about the backup plan, but fell asleep after a while. I was so tired during those few days in Paris that I didn't even get a good rest. Either Sophie Marceau or Wang Zuxian had to take time to take care of Jifa's mood. Chen Lian had not slept well for many days. Li Shui, who was sitting next to Chen Lian, covered Chen Lian with a blanket and quietly watched Chen Lian sleeping soundly. Before she became Chen Lian's assistant, she had more dislike for Chen Lian than good impression. However, since Chen Lian disappeared and reappeared for a while, Li Shui felt that Chen Lian was really charming. Not the kind of charm that seduce women, but the charm of a mature, decisive man with a ruthless aura. Li Shui likes strong men, and her affection for Chen Lian has risen a lot without knowing it. But she was also very smart and knew that her value to Chen Lian was not her appearance but her ability, so she never thought about climbing into Chen Lian's bed. That will only make you lose your value and become a vase in Chen Lian's eyes. Li Shui withdrew her gaze, took out her itinerary, and began to plan Chen Lian's future itinerary. To be a useful woman, rather than a woman who only pleases men, Li Shui doesn't want to become like Zhang Beizi. That was too sad. Now thinking of what Chen Lian said to Zhang Beizi, Li Shui still had some stress reactions. Good people don't do anything, so what do they do? Well, forget it, everyone has their own destiny. Li Shui began to seriously plan Chen Lian's future itinerary. A few hours later, the plane was about to land in New York. It was night in New York. Li Shui looked at the night view of New York through the plane window and felt a very strange feeling in her heart. This is the most prosperous city in the world. I am a person who came from a small city and now I am here. Chen Lian yawned and had no feeling at all about the night scene outside. I came here to conquer this place, not to be a bumpkin. The plane landed smoothly soon. When Chen Lian came out of the airport, Li Fuchen was waiting for him. In the luxurious Rolls-Royce, Chen Lian looked at Chen Lian who had just gotten off the plane and gave him a hug, and then talked about work. Don't panic on Samsung's side. You probably have some connections in Sihan that your brother doesn't know about. Ask about the specific situation and we'll be prepared as well. I know, we are already doing it. I called Li Jiayong and confused him. There shouldn't be any accidents. In the luxurious Rolls-Royce, the two people were like working machines, constantly discussing various tasks. In the car behind the Rolls-Royce, Li Shui was flipping through his cell phone. Not 2 minutes after he and Chen Lian got their cell phones ready, Li Shui received a domestic call. Li Shui answered the call immediately. After listening to Li Dabai finish talking about the matter quickly, she immediately replied, "Okay, I'll talk to Mr. Chen right away." "Hurry up or you won't be able to catch up," Li Dabai urged and hung up the phone in a hurry. After Li Shui hung up the phone, looking at Chen Li's full schedule, she couldn't help but sigh and wanted to change her plans again. Soon the car stopped. As soon as Chen Lian got off the car, he saw Li Shui running over in a hurry. After taking a look at Li Fuchen, he stood aside and said nothing. Chen Lian narrowed his eyes and asked Li Fuchen to go upstairs first. Then he looked at Li Shui and asked, "What happened?" "Ms. Lu went to the hospital. Sister Dabai asked you to return home as soon as possible," Li Shui said immediately. Chen Lian rubbed his temples and said, "Book the fastest flight now." "It's already booked. It's 7:30 in the morning New York time. There are still 8 hours to go. You can rest in the hotel for a while." "I know, just prepare yourself first." After Chen Lian went upstairs, he looked at Li Fuchen who had changed clothes and was waiting for him. He didn't say anything about his immediate return to China. "You have to reward President Li first, otherwise President Li will scold you." More than an hour later, Li Fuchen heard that Chen Lian was about to return to China and immediately frowned and asked, "Did something happen to Leixin?" Chen Lian explained calmly, "No, it was a stupid thing I did before. Now I have to go back and deal with it. In short, it is very important. It is a matter of life and death." He didn't want to tell Li Fujian that he went back to be a father. If Li Fujian got angry and exploded, it would be difficult. He and Li Fujian are now tied together. It would be bad if there is a crisis of trust. He should wait until he comes back from the country before talking to her about something. A matter of life and death? Li Fujian immediately became nervous, looked at Chen Lian and asked, "What will happen to you?" "No, don't worry, it will be taken care of soon. I will explain it to you in detail when I come back." Li Fujian warned uneasily, "Okay, you have to pay attention to safety." A few hours later, Chen Lian took a rest and quickly got on the plane to return to China. In the past few hours, Li Shui and Li Dabai talked on the phone twice. Lu Xiaoli is fine now and should be able to go back to Chen Lian. Chen Lian seems to be in peace now, but he is still a little worried because he is not a cold-blooded animal. More than 10 hours passed quickly, and Chen Lian got off the plane and took a car directly to the hospital. When Chen Lian arrived at the ward, the only sound in the dark ward was Lu Xiaoli's steady breathing. Chen Lian slowed down and walked over to look at the sleeping Lu Xiaoli, and breathed a sigh of relief. Then he sat on the edge of the bed and held Lu Xiaoli's hand, leaning on the back of the chair and looking at her. Li Shui stood behind Chen Lian for a while. Before Chen Lian had anything to say, he turned around and went out to find the doctor. Ask the doctor about the specific situation and subsequent preparations. When Chen Lian asks tomorrow, he will be able to answer fluently. Chen Lian doesn't feel sleepy now. His biological clock is in a mess. He first went to Paris, then New York, and then returned to China. Chen Lian didn't even know what his biological clock was like now. He just hoped that he could have a good rest after this incident. Fringe artists in the entertainment industry. Author, Chizu de Xiaomao. Chapter 397. Chapter 383-382. Introduce yourself to the world. The night passed quickly, and Chen Lian fell asleep leaning on the chair. When the sunshine outside the window shone in, Lu Xiaoli also woke up. Just when she was about to rub her eyes, she felt her hand being grabbed. When she looked sideways, she saw Chen Lian holding her hand and leaning on the chair to sleep. On fire. Lu Xiaoli felt inexplicably at ease, and all the worries in her heart disappeared at this moment. Looking at Chen Lian sleeping soundly, Lu Xiaoli did not call him, but just looked at his sleeping face with a smile on her face. Lu Xiaoli has feelings for Chen Lian in her heart. She hasn't seen her since June, and she almost hates him in her heart. Every day before going to bed, I would curse Chen Lian a few times to sleep. But now those emotions have disappeared, and Chen Lian's tired look makes her feel a little distressed. He is obviously only in his 20s, so why are he working so hard? Lu Xiaoli raised her other hand and gently smoothed Chen Lian's frown. Huh, Chen Lian was woken up. He opened his eyes and saw Lu Xiaoli breathing a sigh of relief again. He held her hand and asked, "How do you feel?" "It's okay. You must be exhausted. Do you want to take a rest?" "No, I'll stay with you." Lu Xiaoli suddenly couldn't help holding Chen Lian's hand, and her expression became painful. Chen Lian reacted immediately and turned around to call the doctor. Li Shui, who had been waiting outside the door, heard Chen Lian's voice, opened the door, took a look, and immediately ran to call the doctor. Lu Xiaoli endured the pain, squeezed out a smile and looked at the nervous Chen Lian and said, "Maybe the baby knew you were back and couldn't wait to meet you." "Okay, stop talking." Chen Lian comforted her, and then called the doctor again. Soon Li Shui came over with a nurse, and Lu Xiaoli was also transferred to the delivery room. Chen Lian looked at the delivery room with the door closed and twisted his sore neck, still a little worried about Lu Xiaoli. Li Shui handed Chen Lian a cup of coffee and bread and said, "Mr. Chen, eat something. You will be fine. The doctor is an expert and there will be no problems." Chen Lian hummed, sat on the chair and took a sip of coffee, not in the mood to eat. More than 20 minutes later, Li Dabai also came. When he saw Chen Lian, he asked anxiously, "Where is Sister Xili, how is the situation?" Chen Lian pointed to the delivery room and asked, "Where is Sissy?" Li Dabai suppressed the worry in his heart and said, "I'm going to school, I didn't tell her." Chen Lian hummed, sat there and closed his eyes to rest. Li Dabai was about to say something when Li Shui secretly grabbed her and took her to the other side to tell her about Chen Lian's recent situation. After listening, Li Dabai was silent for a while, looked at Li Shui and said, "You are doing better than me. You haven't rested since you came back. Go home and see your sister. I will keep an eye on you." Li Shui hesitated for a moment and then shook her head and said, "I'm fine. There may still be situations in New York and Paris, and I won't be able to rest peacefully when I go home." Looking at Li Shui, who was so dedicated, Li Dabai felt a little emotional. Li Shui had grown up too fast and had already surpassed her master. Time passed by, and soon the door to the delivery room, which had been closed, opened. A young nurse stuck her head out and said, "The mother and daughter are safe, and the family members don't have to worry." Several people in the corridor breathed a sigh of relief. Chen Lian reached out and called Li Shui over and asked her to prepare some red envelopes. "It's ready. Don't worry, Mr. Chen, no news will get out." Li Dabai listened to what Li Shui said, as if he had said similar words before. Time flies so fast, more than 2 years have passed in the blink of an eye. After a while, Lu Xili and the child came out and returned to the ward. Chen Lian looked at the weak Lu Xili and comforted her for a long time before he had time to see the child. "Another wrinkled and ugly child, it will take a few days to look good." Lu Xili also looked at the child, with a loving smile on her face. Lu Xili fell asleep after a while, and Chen Lian was too sleepy to bear it anymore. After Li Dabai saw the child, he said to Chen Lian, "You go back and have a rest. I will support you for a while. When you come, bring Qian." "Okay, I'll take a rest first and come back in the afternoon." Chen Lian paused for a moment and then said to Li Dabai, "Don't tell anyone else about my return to China." "I know, I didn't tell anyone." "You should go back and rest." Li Dabai pushed Chen Lian out. Chen Lian left the hospital, went home and took a nap in the afternoon to pick up Cici from school. Cici complained for a long time, saying that Chen Lian was a big liar, and she hadn't seen her for a long time. Chen Lian coaxed her a few words and told her that she had a sister. Cici immediately forgot about her unhappiness. She hugged Chen Lian and asked him to drive faster because she wanted to see her sister. Cici is also 11 years old this year, and is about to grow into a big girl, but she still looks like a child, but she has grown a lot taller. When Cici came to the hospital, she first cared about Lu Xili, and then went to see her sister with curiosity. "After all, I have grown up a bit, and I know that I should go see my mother first." In the next few days, Chen Lian stayed with Lu Xili while handling work matters, until Lu Xili was discharged from the hospital. "You are so busy at work, go and do your work first. We have a confinement nanny and a nanny at home, so don't worry about me," Lu Xili said, looking at Chen Lian, who had just finished the phone call. Chen Lian glanced at her and said, "I was just about to tell you that the press conference is coming and I have to rush back." "Well, go ahead and get some rest." "I know, please take care of yourself during this time." Looking at Chen Lian, who was about to leave, Lu Xili immediately grabbed his hand and said, "You have forgotten the most important thing. You haven't given the baby a name yet." Chen Lian hesitated for a moment and said, "Well, I haven't thought about it yet. I'll think about it carefully first and tell you when I get back. Then think of a nice name. It will definitely happen. If it doesn't work out, I'll ask the master to figure it out." Lu Xili couldn't help but smile, and asked the master to settle the matter. "There is no such thing as a master." Chen Lian took a plane back to New York again. This time on the plane, he finally slept more peacefully. The Magic Flute press conference is ready. As soon as the press conference is over, the name Magic Flute will cause a sensation, and a new music era is coming. The internet technology world is also about to welcome a new star. In the future, Magic Flute will definitely become synonymous with young fashion. October 28, New York, the scene of the Magic Flute press conference. Many people are very interested in this newly emerged company, and Magic Flute has caused a lot of discussion in Europe. Many designers and supermodels in the fashion circle are sharing Magic Flute, and some famous singers have also publicly said that Magic Flute is a great product. They are very much looking forward to the official release of Magic Flute, which will be an epoch-making change in the music industry. Product. But so far, only 50 units of the Magic Flute have been released, and those who have received the product are still holding back their hands on it, and will only show it off when going out or in interviews at most. It has aroused everyone's curiosity, and with the news that Lefugen has reached cooperation with several major music companies, people can't help but fantasize. What kind of product is this that can make so many people obsessed with it? Is it really magical? Lefugen and Chen Lian spent a lot of money to hire these people to help promote the product, and Chen Lian also hired Xiao Tiantian as a spokesperson in advance and invited her to sing at the press conference. Xiao Tiantian was just a little transparent before October 23, although the company's promotion for her was very lively, she was still one song away from becoming a big hit. What Chen Lian was eyeing was the time difference. When Britney's first single Baby One More Time was released on the 23rd, it immediately dominated the major music charts. Britney has also become the most popular young female singer in the United States. Chen Lian likes such young idols very much. They are cheap and influential. With the blessing of so many celebrities, it is difficult for Magic Flute not to become famous. Backstage at the press conference, Chen Lian and Lefugen were sitting in the lounge waiting for the time to arrive. Lefugen was a little nervous. He looked at the manuscript in his hand and kept reading silently. Chen Lian grabbed her hand and said, "Don't be nervous. It's enough for the beautiful spokesperson to just stand on the stage. I'm not a flower vase." Lefugen was holding back his breath. He must prove his ability to Li Jiangzi and Li Ziyang. I especially want to prove to Li Jiangzi and let him see clearly how outstanding the daughter he wants to marry is. Chen Lian knew that Lefugen was upset, so he patted her hand and said, "Now that you have proven it, I think your father must be regretting his original decision." Lefugen forced a smile, but couldn't help but sigh in her heart. Her father was not a person who would regret, even if he made a mistake, he would not regret it. Lefugen had never even heard her father say sorry. Thinking of this, Lefugen glanced at Chen Lian, as if he had never said anything sorry or even admitted fault for anything since she met him. Lefugen suddenly remembered that Chen Lian hadn't told her what the matter was that he urgently needed to return to China to deal with. "I will tell you after you finish the press conference," Chen Lian said with a smile. Lefugen also knew that this was a critical moment and it was not appropriate to say this, so he nodded and said, "I hope it is good news." Chen Lian pondered for a moment and said, "This is indeed good news for me." Lefugen smiled and said, "That's good, the time is coming, you can also wait for my good news." After speaking, Lefugen stood up, put the manuscript in his hand on the table, tidied his clothes, and walked out. After Lefugen went out, Chen Lian also stood up and prepared to go to the auditorium to watch the press conference. Li Shui followed Chen Lian and finally couldn't help but ask the question that he had been confused about for a long time. "Mr. Chen, why don't you be the president yourself?" Chen Lian said with some helplessness and pride, "Because I am Chinese." Unfortunately, the international community engages in discrimination and targeting. What I am proud of is that this shows that these people are afraid of the rise of China. Li Shui looked at Chen Lian's back and felt it was a pity. These honors and scenery should belong to him. Soon Chen Lian came to the audience, sat down and looked at the large screen on the stage, and began to look forward to the exclamations from the audience when the magic flute came out. Soon the lights on the stage came on, and Britney appeared on the stage in a hot outfit to kick off the conference. The audience in the audience began to scream. Even if the product released today is a piece of shit, it is worth it to see Xiao Tiantian live. Listening to these screams, Chen Lian couldn't help but smile, hoping not to break his throat from shouting. When the magic flute appeared later, they would scream even louder. In addition to the media and some celebrity guests, the people who came to the conference were all music lovers. They'll love the magic flute to death. Soon, Tian Tian, who was wearing a plaid tight skirt and a sexy white shirt on the stage, finished her performance, and the audience applauded for a long time. Li Fujian, who was waiting backstage, walked onto the stage amidst the applause and stood under the spotlight looking at the 2,000 spectators. He couldn't control his excitement. It's finally time to introduce myself to the world. You will definitely not live up to the expectations of the man behind you. Li Fujian's eyes fell on Chen Lian in the audience, his eyes full of determination. I won't let you down. I will be your most important partner, your most important woman. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Fringe artists in the entertainment industry. Author, Chizu de Xiaomao. Chapter 398. Chapter 384-383. Far ahead. The lights at the press conference flashed, and Li Fujian on the stage was beautiful and generous, and the audience watched the real machine demonstration on the big screen attentively. There are 4 products in one press conference, which is extremely rich in content and covers many fields. Magic flute, headphones, music website, and LNA audio format, the 4 together will be a product that transcends the times with no shortcomings. It requires technology, resources, and sound quality. Even the appearance design is inferior to the popular Walkman. Li Fujian introduced the products on the stage. Our Magic Flute music website has reached cooperation with several companies in the industry, and the website provides a large number of songs for online listening and downloading. Moreover, Magic Flute music player can download songs at will from the website. Songs in LNA format have better sound quality and are smaller in size. They can download 20 songs at a time, and they can be re-downloaded at any time and change their playlist every day. No longer need to spend a lot of money to buy CDs, you can download your favorite songs with just one click on the website, so that your wallet will no longer be embarrassed. Magic Flute headphones are developed in a professional acoustics laboratory, and are far ahead of their peers in terms of sound quality and appearance. The Magic Flute music player is compact and stylish. It has become the most fashionable item in the fashion industry. It is a product that no one can miss. Let's say goodbye to the bloated and ugly Walkman. Li Fujian held a Magic Flute music player in one hand and an unmarked Walkman in the other, but everyone could see that this was Sony's best-selling product. Li Fujian held the Walkman in his hand and curled his lips and said, "It's like a brick. It's so inelegant. I can even use it to replace dumbbells, and I can't use it to listen to music while running. The Magic Flute is very different. It is suitable for all scenes. With it, you can listen to songs with your lover on a bench in the park, or enjoy the happiness brought by music while jogging. With the Magic Flute, you don't have to carry an oversized bag with you and just put it in your pocket." As he spoke, Li Fujian put the Magic Flute into his pocket, looked at the audience and said calmly, "I really can't find a reason to reject the Magic Flute. If there is, it can only be that it is not retro enough." After Li Fujian finished speaking, he put on the Magic Flute headphones and used the Magic Flute that had just downloaded the song. He stood by the stage and listened to the song as if there was no one around. He did not introduce any more for a minute. After a while, Li Fujian suddenly took off the earphone on one side and said, "I was so absorbed in listening that I forgot to tell everyone that the press conference is over here. I have one last sentence for everyone. All Modi products are far ahead of their peers. The entire press conference echoed with the words way ahead. Maybe you can't remember the parameters and specifications of the product, but when you think of Magic Flute, you will definitely recall the words way ahead. This is about creating memory points, and Magic Flute is far ahead. Li Fujian felt that Chen Lian was too smart. After equating being far ahead with the Magic Flute, even if there were competing products in the future, everyone would subconsciously think that the Magic Flute was far ahead. Moreover, the layout of Magic Flute is so complete now that it is almost forming a closed loop. Li Fujian can't think of any possible reasons for failure. The only possibility may be the price of the Magic Flute, which is $70 a piece, which is very high price, but it comes with 3 months of free website membership, so you can download songs as you like. Chen Lian could not think of any reason for the failure of Magic Flute. Many guests at the press conference realized one thing. This will be an upcoming internet technology giant. When the internet was booming, the emergence of Magic Flute was simply a hit in the eyes of all investors. Such a big piece of fat, I really want to take a bite. Some are greedy, some admire, and naturally some are envious and jealous. People from Sony and Samsung Sihan also attended the press conference. They all realized one thing, their products may be eliminated. Sony is relatively better. The technology of the Walkman is very advanced and the audience is very large, even if the Magic Flute is far ahead. The people in Xi'an are more desperate. Their products are completely uncompetitive. What a joke. The press conference was over, and many people began to leave. Chen Lian also got up and left, and he still had to focus on the preparations for the launch of offline physical stores. As soon as Chen Lian arrived backstage, Li Fujian ran over, looked at Chen Lian with great excitement and said, "How do you feel?" "Performed very well. You are a born CEO, the most beautiful female CEO in the world." Chen Lian did not hesitate to praise him. Li Fujian immediately hugged Chen Lian excitedly and said, "I did it, we succeeded." Li Kunhe and Li Jaeyong, who are far away in South Korea, are also paying attention to Li Fujian's press conference. Although they were not able to see the event, they listened to the entire press conference on the phone. Li Jiangzi even has 3 magic flutes of different colors in his hand, as well as matching headphones. Li Jiangzi put down the magic flute in his hand, looked at Li Jaeyong and asked, "How do Sihan's products compare with the magic flute?" Li Jaeyong shook his head, feeling very complicated in his heart. First, no one could finally threaten his position, and second, he was vaguely envious of Li Fujian. Li Jiangzi stood up expressionlessly and said, "In this case, Sihan will give up the MP3 project, and I will communicate with Fujian." "Are you going to cooperate with the magic flute?" Li Jaeyong asked subconsciously. Li Jiangzi nodded and turned away. Li Jaeyong sat there and looked at the magic flute on the table, his thoughts wandering to nowhere. Another little princess from Samsung was wearing headphones and listening to music on the magic flute. She kept looking at the magic flute player in her hand and suddenly couldn't help but laugh. This was designed by Chen Lian, no wonder it looks so good. Is it just that he and his sister are together? Will we become brothers-in-law in the future? Then isn't she my sister-in-law? There is a saying in China that half of a sister-in-law's butt belongs to her brother-in-law. Li Yingxin couldn't help but blush when she thought of this, and rolled around on the bed several times holding the quilt. Li Yingxin's good sister and presumed brother-in-law were also rolling on the bed at this time, but it was much better for 2 people to roll around nakedly together than for Li Yingxin to roll around alone holding the quilt. Li Fujian turned over and pressed Chen Lian down, pressed his hands on Chen Lian's chest and said, "Today I feel like I have won the world." Chen Lian looked into Li Fujian's eyes and said, "Congratulations, Magic Flute will definitely become the most powerful company under your leadership." "What about you? I still beat you." Chen Lian could understand Li Fujian's thoughts. It was just the success of the press conference that made her a little elated, but don't forget who gave her this success. Chen Lian said with a smile, if you want to beat me, you are still far away. Li Fuchen said unconvinced, I don't believe it. I will definitely be able to defeat you. Whoever loses today will have to listen to the other party in the future. Chen Lian smiled and said, no problem, but what is the comparison? Li Fuchen raised the corners of his lips slightly and said matter-of-factly, what can we compare now? Do we need to say anything? Then you lose. The game ended after dozens of minutes. Alas, Chen Lian felt that winning was meaningless. It was too easy. During the intermission, the two hugged each other and lay on the bed looking at the ceiling. They had no desire to talk at all. After resting for more than 10 minutes, the two looked at each other and hugged each other again to start the second half. What Zhang Ailing said is right. The thing that leads to a woman's heart is Li Fuchen. She felt that Chen Lian had completely taken root in her heart, occupying everything in her like a weed. Although the two of them didn't have a good rest the next day, they still got up early and went out together to see the offline sales of Magic Flute. Magic Flute has opened 5 physical stores in New York. Sales officially started at 8 a.m., but at 7 o'clock, people already started queuing up at the door. The people who came to line up were all young people dressed in fashionable clothes, and there were many black guys who looked like rappers. It's quite interesting to say that Brother Hayes' conditions are not very good, but he will never allow himself to miss a fashionable thing, even if the money in his hand was just snatched on the road last night. Li Fuchen and Chen Lian sat in the car and looked at the queue outside the store, feeling relieved. The magic flute really worked. Chen Lian looked at it for a while, then turned to Li Fuchen and said, there will definitely be many people looking for you these days, wanting to invest in the magic flute. Remember, now is not the time. Even if you really want to cooperate, you can only use the website, and if others cooperate, Magic Flute must not let go now. Li Fuchen nodded and said, I will, but the future development prospects of the website are very good. Do we really want to release it? Chen Lian nodded and said, don't give out too many shares at one time. You will have the opportunity to get them back in the future. Why do you say that? Li Fuchen asked curiously. Chen Lian said with a smile, the bigger the bubble, the more beautiful it is, but it is also the easiest to burst. Li Fuchen nodded. Although he didn't quite understand why Chen Lian was pessimistic about the future of the internet, he kept it in mind. Who made me lose last night? From now on, I can only listen to Chen Lian. After Li Fuchen and Chen Lian got together, they also felt that it was good to have someone to rely on, and they could complement each other and work together. Soon 8 o'clock arrived, and those who had queued up poured in. Within half an hour, Chen Lian and the others heard a commotion outside. I'll add money. You can only sell me a magic flute. I'll add $20. I'll add 50. Who can give me one? Each physical store has a small inventory. There are only 800 units on the first day. Isn't this the routine of hunger marketing? Those who can't buy the goods can only buy them at a higher price. Soon a lot of people left in the store, but there were still many people trying it out in the store, and they couldn't try it out if they couldn't buy it. Some have purchased the product and are downloading songs from the website with the help of the store clerk. Chen Lian and Li Fuchen looked at it for a while and then left. The magic flute was successful. Chen Lian was about to return to China, and the rest was left to Li Fuchen. Chen Lian and Li Fuchen are actually very similar to Apple's Steve Jobs and Cook, but Apple's golden combination has not yet officially come together. Soon Chen Lian got on the plane and rushed back to China. There were still many things to deal with in the country. Leixin will continue to research second-generation phones and expand its R/U0026D team. The LNA format is only suitable for audio for the time being, but it will also be used for video playback in the future. As for mobile phones in the further future, there is no need to consider those for the time being. The most critical thing is to accumulate technology and talent first. After Chen Lian arrived in China, he went directly to Leixin and reported the latest situation to Qiao Linmu in the factory. He also comforted Qiao Linmu, who had been frustrated recently. The reason for the setback is simple. The competition in VCD is too fierce now. The price of components is getting higher and higher, the sales price is getting lower and lower, profit margins are being compressed, dealers are defecting, and other problems have made Qiao Linmu one of two. Big. Chen Lian has no good solution to this problem. VCD can only do this. This thing is not a consumable. No matter how big the domestic market is, there is an upper limit. With so many people rushing to eat together, it is naturally difficult to eat as much as before. Chen Lian held a 2-day meeting with the research team in Leixin and then returned to the capital. After returning to the capital, Chen Lian went directly to Lu Xiaoli. Since there was another little princess, he naturally wanted to show his father's love. Chen Lian was good at coaxing children, but coaxing two at once was a headache. He was holding a baby in his hand, and his half-grown daughter was holding his legs and wanted to give him a hug. "Dad, you've been back for 2 hours and you haven't hugged me yet." Sissy let go of Chen Lian's legs, pinched her waist and looked at him angrily. Lu Xiaoli smiled and rubbed Sissy's head and said, "Dad is coaxing my sister to sleep." "Why is Sissy fighting with her?" Sissy said unhappily, "When you have a sister, you forget about the sister." Chen Lian couldn't help but laugh, and handed his sleeping sister to Lu Xiaoli, then picked up Sissy and scratched her nose and said, "Sissy is a stingy bag." Sissy hugged Chen Lian's neck and pressed it hard, and then said aggrievedly in Chen Lian's ear, "Dad, Mom doesn't care about me lately. Do you only love your sister?" Chen Lian rubbed Sissy's head and said, "No, Mom and Dad also love Sissy, but my younger sister is younger, so I pay more attention to her." Oh, Sissy pouted and shook Chen Lian's neck and said, "How about Dad take me out to play? Mom said you know Huan Zigag, and I really like Xiao Yanzi and Ziwei." "Okay, then let me take you to meet Xiaoyanzi and Ziwei tomorrow, okay?" "Yeah. Dad is the best." At night, Chen Lian hugged Lu Xiaoli and talked about daily gossip, but most of the topics revolved around children, and Chen Lian listened more and talked less. "Sissy seems to have been led by her classmate to want to be an actress," Lu Xiaoli said with some worry. "Her grades have declined again recently." "Children, after 3 minutes of enthusiasm, you may lose interest after a while." Chen Lian patted Lu Xiaoli on the shoulder and said, "It's late, let's rest." Lu Xiaoli hummed, then got into the quilt, preparing to have a late-night snack before going to bed. Chen Lian looked at Lu Xiaoli, who was having a midnight snack, and patted her head encouragingly. "If you like, eat more, preferably all." Lu Xiaoli received the signal, gave Chen Lian a charming look, and then ate the whole midnight snack. "I haven't had it for a long time and I really miss the taste of late-night snack." Fringe artists in the entertainment industry. Author, Chizu de Xiaomao. Chapter 399. Chapter 385-384. A bunch of drama appointments. The early morning sun shines into the bedroom with a hint of warmth. It is already very cold in Beijing in early November, but I don't know when the first snow will fall. Chen Lian woke up very early, and the cancer of laziness seemed to have disappeared from his body, and he rarely slept in late. Maybe there are too many things on my mind and I am not in the mood to sleep in. But I had to get up early to make breakfast for Lu Xiaoli. Lu Xiaoli had a late-night snack last night, which seemed a bit unsatisfactory. However, there were some things that were difficult to do during the confinement period, so I could only make her a breakfast to satisfy her craving. Lu Xiaoli, who was hiding in bed and eating breakfast, was sniffing happily when the bedroom door suddenly opened from the outside. Sissy, who was wearing pajamas and brushing her teeth, walked in and mumbled, "Dad is so lazy that he can't get up even after he wakes up. He's going to see Little Swallow today." Lu Xiaoli in bed froze for a moment, but Chen Lian patted her head calmly, and then said to Sissy, "Sissy, go and brush your teeth. I'll get up soon. Mom hasn't woken up yet, don't make any noise, it's her turn." "Oh, hurry up then." Sissy took the toothbrush and ran away again. After Sissy brushed her teeth and finished breakfast, Chen Lian came out of the bedroom, had something to eat and then went to the company. On the way to the company, Li Shui reported today's itinerary to Chen Lian. "I made an appointment with directors Zhang Yumo and Zhang Wen in the morning. Directors Jia Zhang and Huo Jiankai made an appointment with you in the afternoon. In the evening, teacher Gong Li told me to wait for you at home. Brother Zhang Guorong has been promoting a movie in the mainland recently and is now in the capital. I called before and said he wanted to make an appointment with you. This year's Golden Rooster Awards invites you to attend the awards ceremony, which will be in 4 days. And the Miss Universe competition will be the global finals next month. Sister Shifen wants to ask you." Li Shui reported one by one. Some were things that had been decided, and some were things that had not yet been finalized. It was really a lot to accumulate together. Chen Lian closed his eyes and listened to these big and small things, tapping his fingers on his knees. Sissy, who was sitting next to him, turned to look at Chen Lian and then at Li Shui, obediently without saying a word. After arriving at the company, Chen Lian opened his eyes, looked at Li Shui and said, "Is the second part of Return of the Pearl being filmed? You are taking Qian to get to know Fan Bingbing and Chen Zihan." "Isn't Dad going?" Sissy asked, blinking. Chen Lian's stern face softened again and he said with a smile, "Dad has to go to work. Sissy and Auntie can go play. Dad will take you back in the evening." "Okay, thank you for your hard work, Dad." Sissy took out a candy from her pocket and put it into Chen Lian's hand and said, "If you're not happy, just eat the candy." Chen Lian smiled and rubbed Qian's head, then opened the door and got out of the car. The moment the car door closed, the tenderness on Chen Lian's face disappeared again. It seemed that he only became gentle when he was in front of his children. Chen Myron was not in the company, and even Li Dabai was not there. She didn't know what she was busy with. Chen Lian ignored them and went directly to the office. Before finishing a cup of coffee, Zhang Yumo came. It stands to reason that when directors interview actors, actors should take the initiative, but when faced with an actor like Chen Lian, no director would sit at home and wait for him to come to his door. This is not the first time that Zhang Yumu and Chen Lian have met. Zhang Yumu came to support the singer's opening ceremony before. It's just that Zhang Yumu feels that Chen Lian has changed quite a lot from before. Instead of being easygoing like a scholar, he is as fierce as a businessman. Chen Lian's gaze was very stressful, and he didn't know how to say a few polite words. However, Zhang Yumo's personality is not that humorous. On the contrary, he is a bit taciturn. Chen Lian was currently reading the original novel about My Father and Mother. When he saw Zhang Yumu, he just extended his hand to invite him to sit down and serve him a cup of tea. "Why did director Zhang think of acting with me?" Chen Lian asked curiously. Zhang Yumo hummed before speaking, "Your acting skills are very good, and you are very popular. It's that simple. It's that simple." Chen Lian looked at Zhang Yumo for a while and then said, "I am very interested, but how long director Zhang is planning to shoot? I am very busy and may not have that much time." Zhang Yumo pondered for a moment and said, "At least for a month. If you join the team now, I can give priority to filming your scenes." Zhang Yumu actually has an alternative. If Chen Lian comes back a little later or refuses directly, he will just start filming. Chen Lian thought for a while and said, "No problem, but I hope it can be done faster. By the way, who is the heroine?" "A student from China National Theatre, Zhang Ziyai." Zhang Yumo talked a little more when talking about making a movie, and continued, "Originally, I was planning to find someone named Zheng Li, but later I felt that Zhang Ziyai was more suitable. She more photogenic." Chen Lian nodded and said, I've seen them both. Zheng Li is better looking, but it's true that she's not very photogenic. It would be best if you know each other. This can also save time on getting used to it. Zhang Yuma breathed a sigh of relief and looked at Chen Lian and said, the filming is going to Bashang. The conditions are quite difficult. Are you sure you can do it? No problem, I just hope that director Zhang won't be like director Cheng and it will take 3 years to film a movie. Of course not. I don't like to change the script myself. Chen Lian couldn't help but smile, looked at him and said, it's a pleasure to cooperate. When will you join the team? Zhang Yumu immediately said, the day after tomorrow, the sooner the better. No problem, Chen Lian agreed immediately. He hoped that he could win a top 3 Best Actor, so that his career as an actor would not be in vain. There are only so many films in China that are most promising to win awards. Many of them are not suitable for Chen Lian, and some of them cannot win the Best Actor. This has nothing to do with your acting skills, but to do with the script itself. The movie My Father and Mother is quite good and has a chance to win the Best Actor award. Chen Lian also hopes to push his career as an actor to a new level. As for some conflicts between himself and Zhang Yumou, those are not important. In fact, they are not conflicts. Chen Lian is not a poacher, and there is no psychological pressure on him morally. Even if it was pride, so what? Zhang Yumou left, and he had no intention of sitting for a while longer. Now that the actor was done, he had to make preparations to start filming immediately. After Zhang Yumou left, Chen Lian picked up the book and continued reading. Mei Chen and Li Dabai in the company did a good job, and he had nothing to worry about. Not long after, this kid Zhang Wen came. As soon as he saw Chen Lian, he started crying, saying that the crew was almost unable to uncover the truth. Chen Lian looked at him calmly, and after he finished crying about poverty, he said, $3 million invested in you is not enough. It only means that you have wasted your money. Am I that kind of person? Art creation requires costs. This is not painting. A canvas only costs a few dollars. Zhang Wen couldn't help but pat his thigh and explained. However, he felt that Chen Lian was a little weird. He originally thought that he would get money just by crying. Chen Lian looked at him and said, I understand you from the perspective of a creator, but investment is a commercial behavior, and the considerations are naturally different. It's boring to talk about our relationship. When you called me in Tokyo, I came over. Zhang Wen started to play the emotional card again. He was very familiar with this kind of thing. When he was photographing the sunny day, he shamelessly wrote letters to all the rich friends he knew to solicit investment. Chen Lian thought for a while and said, actually, from an investment perspective, I'm not very optimistic about your movie. It may not pass the review. But since we are friends, I will still invest in you, but I can only add another 1 million. No more. Zhang Wen said a little unwillingly, if we don't add more, 1 million is really not enough. You can't do it alone. I'm not the only investor. You are the only one who is willing to give me money. You still have the nerve to say that you were shooting a movie? You don't have as much film to shoot a TV series as you do. Chen Lian saw that Zhang Wen, a tall and powerful man, had said this. He thought for a moment and said, I can give you another million, but you agree to one condition. What conditions? Zhang Wen immediately asked curiously. Chen Lian said seriously, you can go back and cut a domestic version to pass the review. Zhang Wen hesitated and said, okay. I promise you. Okay, let's go to the finance department to get the money. Chen Lian waved his hand domineeringly and said. Zhang Wen was not in a hurry now. The money couldn't escape anyway. He looked at Chen Lian and said, I'll ask Yang to get it later. How about we go have a meal together? I haven't seen foreign food on the set for a long time. Okay, let's go. You see, you are a fool. After all, he is also the director with the highest box office in the country. Do you want to play a role? With you here, I feel that I have a good chance of passing the trial. What to play? How about the Japs officers? Malayagun, I won't treat you to lunch. Okay, why don't I ask you to do it? I'll go back to the crew to reimburse you later. Had a meal with Zhang Wen at noon, and in the afternoon Chen Lian met Huo Jiankai and Jia Zhang. Huo Jiankai had nothing to do, he just came over to meet old friends and share about winning awards abroad. Although I didn't win an award when I was in Berlin, I went to several small film festivals and still won awards. Huo Jiankai was very happy. After winning awards abroad, the treatment was different after returning to China. Lian, I have recently prepared a movie, but I don't have a concrete idea yet. I will prepare the script for you to read. Your eyes are very poisonous. Chen Lian glanced at him, coughed and said, it's not that my eyes are poisonous, it's that your wife's first edition is always bad. Huo Jiankai immediately became unhappy. He looked at Chen Lian and said, you can say it to me, but you can't say anything to my wife. He is still a wife-protecting maniac, and it is not the time to kneel on the washboard. Chen Lian was too lazy to discuss this issue with him. He looked at Jia Zhang and asked, are you going to make a movie again? Jia Zhang nodded and said, well, this script is my first script. I filmed Xiao Wu because I had no money. Now that I have money, I want to film it. Chen Lian has watched the movie platform and is actually very interested in it, and investing in Lao Jia is much better than investing in Zhang Wen, the scammer. You don't have enough money, do you want to invest? Jia Zhang nodded, but he was no longer as embarrassed as when he first met Chen Lian. He said directly, it needs a million looks. Many scenes need to be rebuilt, and I want you to act. When he heard that Jia Zhang wanted to make a movie with Chen Lian, Huo Jiankai immediately said, Junior, you are not kind. I told Lian first that the filming was for me first. Jia Zhang, are you childish? It's not like you're trying to steal your girlfriend. Chen Lian felt a little headache. Why were so many people coming to him to act and ask for money today? Looking at the noisy Huo Jiankai and Jia Zhang, Chen Lian immediately said, stop arguing. Whether I act or not is not the same thing. Let's wait until you finish the script. Chen Lian doesn't want to shoot too many movies in a year. It would be a waste of time. Unless he encounters a movie he particularly likes, he won't shoot so many movies. Always making literary films will make you tired. Chen Lian also wants to play a slightly different role. Fringe artists in the entertainment industry. Author, Chizu de Xiaomao. Chapter 400. Chapter 386-385. The softness in Chen Lian's heart. Winter nights always come quickly, and it's already dark at 6 o'clock in the afternoon. In the studio of Beijing Film Studio, the crew who had been filming for a day finally stopped working. Fan Bingbing felt that he was almost exhausted. The role of Xiao Yanzi is too difficult. The other actors are tested in abstraction. She not only has to perform abstractly but also tests her physical strength. The little swallow is so capable of jumping around that I couldn't even take photos for a whole day if I wasn't physically strong enough. Chen Zihan watched Fan Bingbing, who was too tired to move, hand his thermos cup to her, pinched her round face and said, your baby fat is almost gone, and your chin is getting more and more pointed. Fan Bingbing turned to look at Chen Zihan, opened his hand and said, Sister Zihan, give me a hug, I'm almost exhausted. Chen Zihan tapped her forehead and said, what's the use of me hugging you? Find a man to hug you. You are my man, hug me, husband. Go, I'm not. The two of them laughed and joked for a while, and when they saw Sissy coming out of the dressing room, they both stopped making jokes that were inappropriate for children. Fan Bingbing looked at Sissy walking over and asked Chen Zihan in a low voice, What is the relationship between this little girl and teacher Chen? She still won't tell me if I ask her. Maybe they are relatives. Chen Zihan didn't know the relationship between Qian and Chen Lian, so he guessed, if Li Shui can be sent here, they must have an unusual relationship. Just coax them. I know, Fan Bingbing replied, then smiled at Sissy, opened his hand to her and said, Sissy, come to sister. Sissy trotted into Fan Bingbing's arms and shouted, Sister, you smell so good. Haha, Sissy smells good too. At the gate of Beijing Film Studio, Chen Lian was sitting in the car and talking on the phone with Li Fujian. The sales data of Magic Flute for this week have come out, and 41,200 units were sold in just 1 week. Sales are approaching 3 million. This kind of sales performance has beaten the sales performance of Sihan's first MP3 in history, but it is not surprising. Chen Lian and Li Fujian have prepared so much, so there is no reason why they would lose to Sihan. The American people are still rich, especially after plundering Asia, they are extremely rich. The number of registered people on the music website now exceeds 100,000. Although many people do not have Magic Flute music players, they have registered in advance and prepared their own playlists, ready to play Magic Flute as soon as they buy it. Download. Magic Flute has really taken the fashion world by storm this time. If fashionistas don't have a Magic Flute music player and black and red Magic Flute headphones, they would be embarrassed to say that they are in the fashion industry. There are also some black guys who can't buy a Magic Flute player, so they buy Magic Flute headphones, and then hide their own Walkman in their pants, and the effect is surprisingly good. Wearing fashionable headphones, attracting other people's attention, and then making a wow sound when the eyes are lowered, it directly fills up the feeling of pleasure. The Magic Flute has really become popular abroad, and it has become very popular very fast, incredibly fast. It seems that overnight the words Magic Flute are all in the conversation among young people. And a very strange catchphrase, way ahead. Achieving such a result, Li Fujian is really high-spirited at this time. Although she and Chen Lian are only responsible for shaking and Chen Lian is responsible for taking the lead, it does not prevent her from being the one receiving praise and honors from the Magic Flute. The New York Times and the Washington Daily praised Li Fujian as the most beautiful CEO of the 20th century and the female version of Steve Jobs in internet technology companies. It's an exaggeration, but it will all come true in the future. Li Fujian is very confident about this. This confidence was given to her by Chen Lian. Li Fujian was sitting in his large office in New York, looking at the scenery outside the floor-to-ceiling windows. He took the phone and said to Chen Lian, "You really shouldn't leave. What you did in China is nothing compared to the Magic Flute. This is the spice of life and cannot be measured by money." After Chen Lian said lightly, he continued to Li Fujian, "I received a call from your father today and he asked me to meet in Seoul." "What?" Li Fujian suddenly became nervous and asked quickly, "What is going on?" Chen Lian said calmly, "Don't be nervous, maybe I want to marry you to me." Li Fujian was stunned for a moment, shyness unexpectedly appeared on his delicate face, and he asked with some expectation, "Then what are you going to do?" "I don't have time to see your father now." Chen Lian's words directly shattered Li Fujian's expectations. Chen Lian glanced at the watch he just bought on his wrist and said directly, "It's not time to meet yet. When the Magic Flute really takes hold, I will go to see your father. You can talk to him first. I will also, if you have something to do, hang up first." Li Shui in the car listened to Chen Lian's words and admired Chen Lian even more. That was Samsung's Li Jiangzi, the boss of a Fortune 500 company, and he refused as soon as he said no. Li Fujian listened to the busy tone on the other end of the phone and was stunned for a long time. Then he couldn't help laughing and said to himself, "He is indeed the man I like. He can be so calm in front of my father. I really look forward to it the moment you meet." Li Fujian, who was originally a little arrogant, suddenly calmed down. Chen Lian was right. Now is not the time to be proud. The magic flute has not yet gained a firm foothold, and he still has to work hard. Otherwise, Chen Lian is not worthy enough, and he may not be eligible for marriage, and may not be able to marry him. Li Fuchen looked at the documents piled up in front of him and immediately began to work seriously, for the magic flute and to be able to marry himself. Chen Lian was already walking towards the studio of Beijing Film Studio to pick up his daughter and take her home. Chen Lian looked at Zixi playing with Fan Bingbing in the studio, with a smile on his lips. The innocence of children is the most beautiful thing in the world, and the rest is not worth mentioning. Chen Zihan was the first to notice Chen Lian. He stood up in surprise and was about to run over when he saw Chen Lian making a gesture telling him not to move. Chen Zihan was stunned for a moment, not understanding what Chen Lian meant, but he still sat there obediently. Chen Lian walked behind Qian Qian, glanced at Fan Bingbing, and then knocked Qian Qian on the head. Sissy covered her head in pain and turned around and shouted, "Who hit me on the head?" When Qian Qian raised her head and saw that it was Chen Lian, her eyes immediately opened wide. She hugged Chen Lian and shouted, "Dad, you sneak attack on me." Fan Bingbing and Chen Zihan were both stunned when they heard the title Dad. Especially Fan Bingbing, who was about to say hello, shouted blankly, "Dad." Chen Lian glanced at Fan Bingbing, then picked up Sissy and said, "Sissy, have you had enough fun? It's time to go home for dinner. You haven't done your homework today." Sissy's smile suddenly froze, she hugged Chen Lian's neck and said coquettishly, "Dad, can we play for a while longer?" Sister Bingbing said she would take me to KFC. "That's not okay, otherwise your mother will be angry. Can you ask Sister Bingbing to go to KFC next weekend?" Chen Zihan sat beside him and looked at the gentleness on Chen Lian's face in a daze. She had never seen such a gentle side of Chen Lian. Chen Lian nodded towards Chen Zihan, made a gesture of calling, then hugged Qian Qian and said, "Say goodbye to the two sisters." Sissy waved her little hand wiltingly and said, "Goodbye Sister Bingbing, goodbye Sister Zihan." Fan Bingbing came to his senses and immediately said, "Goodbye Sissy." Chen Zihan said with a strange expression, "Goodbye, Sister Qian Qian." The word sister was accented, and Chen Lian raised his eyebrows slightly, then he remembered that the seniority was confused. But it doesn't matter, it's not like Chen Zihan has never called him daddy. Chen Lian took Qian Qian away, leaving Fan Bingbing and Chen Zihan still messy in the wind. After a while, Fan Bingbing looked at Chen Zihan and asked, "Sister Zihan, why does teacher Chen have such a big daughter?" Chen Zihan shook his head and said, "I don't know, maybe. Maybe." Chen Zihan thought for a long time but couldn't think of a suitable possibility. It was definitely not adopted. Sissy had a mother. Could it be that Chen Lian found a divorced young woman with a baby? Is his taste so unique? Chen Zihan couldn't think of the reason for a moment and decided to call Chen Lian back to ask what was going on. Fan Bingbing felt the most magical. Originally, she had thought about what would happen between herself and Chen Lian, but now she has become friends with his daughter. Is this the scene in the novel where you fall in love with your friend's father? Oh my god, it's a little exciting. Fan Bingbing knew that Chen Lian and Chen Myron had a son, and suddenly thought that in the future, when he grew up, he would confess to the girl he liked, and then someone would tell him, "I like your dad." Ha ha ha! Fan Bingbing suddenly couldn't help laughing. Chen Zihan was confused as to why the little girl was so crazy. On the other hand, after Chen Lian sent Qian Qian home, he played with Lu Xiaoli and Chen Fifei for a while. "Oh, I forgot to mention, Chen Fifei is the name of my little girl. Chen Lian is a bad namer, and Lu Xiaoli complained about it." "Fifei, this name is so common. This is the name you have been thinking about for so many days." Chen Lian hugged Fifei and said, "Why are you ordinary? This is to be like Sissy. It's so good to have Sissy and Fifei. They sound like two sisters." "Hello Fifei, I like Fifei," Sissy shouted happily from the side. Maybe it was because Chen Lian mentioned this name just for herself, so Sissy felt that her father loved her more than her sister. Lu Xiaoli looked at Sissy's happy look and felt that this was not bad. At least Chen Lian's bowl of water was level. Chen Lian left after eating at Lu Xiaoli's place. He didn't spend the night here. He couldn't do anything. It would be embarrassing for him to spend the night here. Of course, it was also because Gong Li called him over and over again to urge him to go there. Chen Lian probably wanted to talk to him because he wanted to cooperate with Zhang Yumu. At around 9 o'clock, Chen Lian arrived at Gong Li's place. The eldest princess had already gone to bed. Chen Lian sat by the bed and looked at her for a long time, and finally resisted the urge to wake his daughter up. Back in the master bedroom, Gong Li was lying on the bed reading a book. When she saw Chen Lian coming in, she put down the book in her hand, lifted the quilt and patted the bed. It seemed that the old couple didn't need to say much, they could understand with just one movement. After Chen Lian went to bed, he realized that Gong Li had prepared a surprise for him. "Don't you like wearing stockings? Why are you so proactive this time?" Chen Lian asked curiously. Gong Li snorted and said, "If I don't take the initiative, you won't even go home." Gong Li raised her leg and rubbed against Chen Lian. She couldn't help but ask him about her disappearance for a month. She looked at him and said, "Why did you agree to Zhang Yumu? I think the script is good and I want to win an award. And didn't you take the initiative to call me and tell me?" Gong Li said unhappily, "I owe him a favor, so I helped him pass the message. Who knew you would really agree to cooperate?" Chen Lian pinched Gong Li's chin and asked, "Are you unhappy? Is it because of him or because of me?" Gong Li's face was pinched and she said angrily, "Of course it's because of you. Are you not awkward at all? I don't think you are jealous and don't care about me at all." Chen Lian let go of Gong Li's face, kissed her gently on the lips and said, "Of course I care about you, my good sister." Hearing Chen Lian call her good sister, Gong Li felt a little less angry. She pinched him angrily and said, "You will bully me and feel sorry for you. Every time you make me angry, you call me sister." Chen Lian sniffed Gong Li's neck gently, and finally blew gently in her ear, and said with a smile, "Because you like it, I call you sister." Gong Li's body became soft and she leaned against Chen Lian's arms and said, "You haven't picked my ears for a long time." Chen Lian caressed the side of Gong Li's face, and with his other hand skillfully found the hair brush that he had collected for a long time in the bedside table. This brush was brought back from the Fenjiao crew and kept there ever since. Tonight seemed to be about reminiscing about the past together. Gong Li squinted her eyes and enjoyed Chen Lian's ear picking, and couldn't help but raise the corners of her mouth. The psychiatrist is right, this does have an effect. Early the next morning, Chen Lian was woken up by his daughter's cry. He quickly got up to change the girl's diaper and make milk powder. He was busy all morning. Gong Li rarely had a good sleep. When she got up, she saw Chen Lian holding his daughter in front of the fish tank and watching the clownfish together. She yawned and went back to sleep. The child may be one of the few soft things in Chen Lian's heart now. Although he is not happy to become a father at such a young age, he still can't control his feelings when he sees his cub. But as an old father, you can't treat one favorably. With several of your daughters accompanying you, you can't ignore your son either. Chen Lian went to Chen Myron's place to accompany his son again in the afternoon. The child grew up very fast. Chen Lian looked at his chubby son and suddenly felt a little emotional that time flies. In the blink of an eye, the younger children have grown so big. In a few years, they will be I can go to school, and in a few years I might be able to braid the little girl in front of me at school. When Chen Myron came back in the evening, she was no longer as gentle as her. She didn't say any words of complaint, nor did she blame Chen Lian for not going home for so long. She just used all her gentleness to face Chen Lian. Gentle as water is not just an adjective. Beauty Chen's gentleness is a lot of water. Please give me monthly votes. My monthly votes will be doubled at the end of the month. Please vote for me, all adoptive fathers. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Fringe artists in the entertainment industry. Author, Chizuda Xiaomao. Chapter 401. Chapter 387-386. Collapse of Zhangzi. The grassland scenery on Bashang is really beautiful. Chen Lian drove a jeep on the grassland, the cold wind blew by his ears, and he felt free to run wild. Li Shui didn't even dare to sit in Chen Lian's car, so she drove a separate car and followed behind and almost lost her. That is to say, there is no cover on the grassland, otherwise Li Shui will really lose track. Chen Lian was frantic for a while before he turned around and took Li Shui back to the cruise motorcade. In the cruise car, Zhang Ziyi lay on the car window looking at Chen Lian's car with envy in his eyes. Chen Lian is really the idol in the eyes of girls of their generation. Whether it is appearance, talent, or financial status, he is the tallest among his peers. It's hard for some people not to like it, even if some people say they don't like it, secretly they want to climb into Chen Lian's bed. The most popular actress quality inspector is not something the media makes fun of casually. Now because Chen Zihan and Fan Bingbing, the most popular people in Huanzhou, are not both from Chen Lian's company, who dares to say that these two people are not related to Chen Lian? Zhang Ziyi just feels lucky now. Not only has she been recognized by Zhang Yumu, but she has also acted with Chen Lian. Why can't she become the next Gong Li? After winning an award through Zhang Yumu's movie and then getting involved with Chen Lian, at that time I was the real winner in life. Chen Lian drove the car and followed for a while before arriving at the location where the crew was filming, a very backward small village. However, the villagers are very simple. Many people don't even know Chen Lian and Zhang Yumu, they only know them as big stars and directors. As for newcomers like Zhang Ziyi, they are more popular. Young and beautiful girls will always receive preferential treatment. As for the little girl Li Shui, she was not so likable. She was wearing a black business attire and a coat, and looked like she would not let strangers approach her. No one on the crew dared to speak loudly in front of Li Shui. The place where the crew lives is the home of the villagers. The environment where Chen Lian lives is very bad, but he doesn't have any objections. Everyone has nothing to complain about. Li Shui looked at the poor accommodation environment and the cell phone signal that had lost signal, and said to Chen Lian, "Mr. Chen, the cell phone signal is gone. I'm worried that we can't be contacted from abroad. Should we live in the county?" Chen Lian shook his head and said, "No, I brought a satellite phone with me. If there is an emergency, just call the satellite phone. You don't have to follow me for the time being. You can go to the county seat and wait for me. Come and find me if there is an emergency." Li Shui hesitated and said, "Mr. Chen, the conditions here are so bad. I'll prepare something for you and send it over. Okay, be careful when driving. It's easy to get lost at night. Come back tomorrow." After Chen Lian warned, Li Shui left. A few minutes after Li Shui left, Zhang Ziyi ran over to Chen Lian. He looked at Chen Lian timidly with his pigtails and big eyes. Chen Lian, who was packing his things, raised his eyes and looked at her and asked, "What do you want here?" Zhang Ziyi felt like his breathing was stagnant. Chen Lian's eyes were so oppressive that he forgot what he was going to say. She and Chen Lian have met several times, and they have never felt this oppressive. Moreover, Mei Ting said that Chen Lian is a very talkative and laughing person, and he can take care of others just like his brother. But now that I have actually seen it, why do they feel so different? Zhang Ziyi felt that Chen Lian was not in a good mood recently. He was holding the script behind his back and did not dare to take it out. Chen Lian waited for a long time and didn't hear Zhang Ziyi speak. He raised his head and glanced at her, and then slowed down and said, "You came to me for a scene or something else? We have met a few times before. Have you forgotten? He will be filming a scene with Zhang Ziyi later, and Chen Lian doesn't want to scare her and waste his time because he can't be in good condition." Seeing Chen Lian's attitude suddenly softening, Zhang Ziyi came back to his senses and asked timidly, "Teacher Chen, do you have time? This is my first time acting and I have no experience, so I want to act opposite you." Chen Lian put down the toothbrush in his hand, looked at her and said, "It's not necessary to match the scene. The director has his own requirements. Just listen to him." "Oh, okay." Zhang Ziyi looked at Chen Lian and hesitated for a while before saying, "Teacher Chen, let me clean it up for you." Chen Lian glanced at her and said with a smile, "No problem, thank you for your hard work. I happen to have something to go to the director for." Zhang Ziyi was stunned for a moment and said quickly, "Oh, then Teacher Chen, go and do your work." Chen Lian had nothing to do with Zhang Yumou, but he just asked Zhang Ziyi to find his status. In the script, Zhang Ziyi had a secret crush. He was cautious at first and then became bolder. The current situation is just right, let her find her feelings. After Chen Lian went out, he sat in the jeep he bought temporarily, took the satellite phone to report to Gong Li and the others that they were safe, and then fell asleep leaning on the seat. By the time Chen Lian woke up, it was almost dark, smoke was rising from the village, and it was time to eat. Chen Lian ran to the place where the crew started cooking. Looking at the sticky noodles in the pot, he really wanted to give the chef a beating. "I can't even cook the next noodle, but I still have the nerve to work as a chef. Why is Zhang Wuping, an investor, so reluctant to hire a better chef?" Chen Lian really lost his appetite, so he might as well eat some biscuits. He said hello to Zhang Yumou and left. Zhang Yumou held the bowl and looked at Chen Lian's leaving figure without any expression, but he didn't ask the chef to cook better in the future. Chen Lian returned to where he lived, opened the door and saw Zhang Ziyi asleep on his bed, holding Chen Lian's book in his hand. Chen Lian stood there and watched for a while, confirming that she was really asleep, and then walked over to wake her up. "The crew is having dinner, no one called you?" Zhang Ziyi rubbed his eyes, looked at Chen Lian and shook his head, then stood up sheepishly and said, "Teacher Chen, I'm sorry, I saw your book and thought the title was quite interesting, so I read it for a while, but nothing. I fell asleep thinking about it." Chen Lian looked at the book, the selfish gene in her hand, reached for it and said, "This kind of book is not suitable for you. Go and eat quickly." Zhang Ziyi blushed and felt a little embarrassed. He said oh and was about to leave. He subconsciously asked, "Have you eaten, Teacher Chen? Do you want to go together?" Chen Lian shook his head and said, "I'm not going, you go." Zhang Ziyi didn't say anything else. After going out, he was thinking about whether to bring dinner to Chen Lian and show off, just like Zhao did. Just when Zhang Ziyi saw the few sticky noodles left in the pot, she knew why Chen Lian didn't come to eat. It was indeed unappetizing, but Zhang Ziyi was very hungry, so he filled a bowl and felt full after taking one bite. It has a slightly cool and creamy texture and only a little bit of salt. It tastes terrible. But it was full, and he had to eat it, which would make people feel squeamish, so Zhang Ziyi gritted his teeth and finished the noodles in a few mouthfuls, wiped his mouth, put down the bowl and ran away. It's so unpalatable that Zhang Ziyi can't understand why the crew can't make better food. If that doesn't work, just make instant noodles. Chen Lian was eating biscuits in his room, wondering whether Zhang Yumou would deliberately embarrass himself by not improving the food conditions. It's not that Chen Lian can't endure hardship, but there's no need to force him to endure hardship. It's not that he doesn't have the conditions. Only a fool would deliberately embarrass himself, and then be moved by saying that I can really endure hardship. Great. Chen Lian took out his satellite phone and called Li Shui, told her about the food, and asked her to find a way to solve her food problem. After Li Shui, who was far away in the county seat, hung up the phone and thought about it for a while, she probably understood what Chen Lian meant. Solving the problem of eating for oneself does not solve the problem of eating for the crew, so there is no need to consider other people. Li Shui knew what happened to Chen Lian, Gong Li, and Zhang Yumu, and wondered whether Zhang Yumu did it on purpose. However, regardless of whether it was intentional or not, this incident must be written down as a reference for his attitude toward Zhang Yumu in the future. The conditions of the crew were poor, and the environment on the dam was poor, but the food was not that bad. Chen Lian was invited to act and was given a pitiful remuneration, so we couldn't mention other aspects of treatment. Li Shui felt that the crew was quite inexperienced, so in the future it would be better to avoid getting involved with such crews. Zhang Yumo actually didn't think that much, but he never paid attention to these things, and the conditions of the crew were indeed difficult. Isn't this the case for all filming? As for Chen Lian not eating, or feeling dissatisfied, Zhang Yumu thinks that as long as the filming is not delayed, it is not a big problem. Not everyone can eat well. That night, Chen Lian ate a few biscuits and went to bed. When he got up the next morning, after brushing his teeth, he saw Li Shui's car coming. "Teacher Chen, I just happened to bring you something to eat." Li Shui got out of the car and handed Chen Lian the breakfast he brought from the county. Chen Lian stretched out his hand and touched it, but it was still hot, and said to Li Shui, "Thank you for your hard work. You can just buy some fast food. You don't have to run back and forth every day." Li Shui immediately said, "Teacher Chen, I will find someone to deliver it to you every day. Today I will bring him to know the way." "Okay, it's only a month anyway." Chen Lian ate pancakes, looked at the man behind Li Shui, nodded to him and said, "It will be hard for you in the future, so be careful when driving back and forth." "It's okay, you're welcome," the middle-aged man replied with a smile. With so much money, it would be nice to have a little longer time. After Chen Lian finished eating, he chatted with Li Shui for a while, and after confirming that there was nothing he needed to pay attention to abroad, he went to find Zhang Yumu and the others to start work. Put on a worn-out cotton padded jacket, put on plain glasses, mess up your hair a little, and Chen Lian's style is over. After changing his clothes, Chen Lian's temperament also changed. He was no longer sharp, but restrained and dull, with a strong bookish air, and looked very honest. Zhang Ziyi thought it was amazing that just by changing his clothes, his temperament had changed. Looking down at his floral cotton padded jacket, Zhang Ziyi didn't feel Zayadai's character except that she felt ugly. It was just a little bit, nothing else. Zhang Yumu saw Chen Lian getting into the mood so quickly, and he was no longer worried. He would not give guidance to actors with good acting skills. His attention was all on Zhang Ziyi. This is a complete newcomer. Zhang Yumo sees potential in her, but it still needs to be developed a little bit. Zhang Yumo did not directly tell Zhang Ziyi how to act, but directly announced that the film was starting. The first shot of the film was very simple, and it was over after shooting a few long shots. Next, Zhang Yumo will focus on Zhang Ziyi. If she does not perform well, the progress of the entire crew will slow down, let alone finish filming Chen Lian's scenes as soon as possible. Zhang Yumo is very good at choosing scenes. The scene for Zhang Ziyi is to lean on the door frame and look out. The emotions and thoughts of the character are all in that look. If Zhang Ziyi can capture the scene well, the feeling of the character will be found. It's just that Zhang Ziyi still couldn't find the feeling after trying more than 10 times in a row. Zhang Yumo just repeated it again and again, keeping an eye on Zhang Ziyi's state. He hasn't reached the limit yet. When Zhang Ziyi reaches his limit, Zhang Yumo will tell Zhang Ziyi how to act. Chen Lian has been watching from the side without disturbing him. He quite agrees with Zhang Yumu's method of training actors. Sometimes it is useless no matter how many times he talks about it. Only when you push yourself to the limit, after you have tried all possibilities, and reach the critical point, can everything fall into place with just a few clicks? Poor Zhang Ziyi had just made his debut, but he was pushed to the point of collapse by the director, with his idol watching the show next to him. After it happened again, Zhang Ziyi couldn't control it anymore. She squatted by the door and hugged her legs and cried. She was so sad that she felt like she had ruined her acting career. It's just that no one came forward to comfort me. I got used to crying. I still have a long way to go in the future. It doesn't matter if I cry while acting. Sometimes in this circle, I feel even more powerless than this. The monthly votes are doubled at the end of the month. Please ask the adoptive father to vote for your child. Fringe artists in the entertainment industry. Author, Chizu de Xiaomao. Chapter 402. Chapter 388-387. Teacher Chen, do you want unspoken rules or not? There is plenty of sunshine in the grassland. Lying lazily on the grass and looking at the white sky will make you feel that the world is huge and your heart is very peaceful. Teacher Chen, it's your part soon. The crew member ran over and shouted politely. Chen Lian sat up and spit out the grass roots in his mouth, stood up and walked towards the set. Chen Lian was sitting on the old carriage, looking at the yellowing and dry grassland around him. The sound of the horse's whip being whipped out was very clear, and the horse was running very fast. The path on the grassland was not smooth, and the carriage was bumpy. The carriage passed through the sheep and past a group of 7 or 8-year-old children and women from the village. Their eyes were full of curiosity. They looked at the stranger on the carriage with a look in their eyes. With respect. Zayadai, who was playing among a group of children, smoothed the broken hair on her forehead and looked at the man sitting on the carriage, full of curiosity and inquiry like those children. Soon the carriage stopped at the end of the village, and the golden morning sun shone slantingly on the grassland. The men in the village came over and surrounded the carriage, with smiles on their faces. This is the teacher who came to our Sanhitan. His surname is Luo and his name is Luo Changjio. The driver of the carriage jumped out and introduced to the villagers. Luo Changjio looked at the pair of curious and respectful eyes and did not dare to recognize the title of sir. He quickly said, "Don't call me sir, just call me teacher." Luo Changjio, who was carrying a light, looked like a beam of light shining into Sanhitan under the rising Sunday. Everyone was happy, and the children in the village were finally able to study. Luo Changjio followed the village chief and the village laborers towards the place where the school was built in the village. The villagers had smiles on their faces. Luo Changjio was also happy that he could make a difference and that people here valued education. Zhao De looked at Luo Changjio from a distance, seeing how he stood out among a group of men wearing turbans, with his gentle temperament, handsome face, and sunny smile. Zayadai's calm heart was like a calm lake, causing ripples when a stone was dropped. Zhao De looked at Luo Changjio, and the girl's mind suddenly seemed to be enlightened. She looked at him from a distance and ran towards her home. This outdoor scene is over. Chen Lian only said one line, which is more like a symbol in the movie, representing the hope of the village and Zhao De's fantasy of love. Luo Changjio actually doesn't have many scenes, far less than Zhao De's. The whole movie is preceded by Zhao De's cautious secret love. Zhang Yimou has always made movies from a female perspective. This is also the reason why many actresses want to become a girl. However, Chen Lian didn't seem to care about this, and his reason for taking on this drama in the first place sounded a bit ridiculous. When the crew was changing scenes, Zhang Ziyi took the initiative to come over and sit next to Chen Lian, and asked curiously, "Teacher Chen, why did you take this drama?" Chen Lian raised his eyebrows slightly and asked, "Why can't you accept it?" "I don't think any actor would refuse Director Zhang." Zhang Ziyi waved his hand quickly and said, "That's not what I meant. Director Zhang is naturally a great director, but Teacher Chen is not an ordinary actor either." Chen Lian thought for a while and said, "I want to win the Best Actor award." Hearing such a utilitarian reason, Zhang Ziyi was stunned for a moment and then looked at Chen Lian, who hesitated but still didn't say what was in his heart. If you tell others this, some people may believe it, but Zhang Ziyi knows that Luo Changjiao's role in this movie is very small. He is just a character symbol, and it will not make much difference to whoever he chooses to play. The reason why Chen Lian took this film was definitely not because of the best actor or something, because it was impossible to win the best actor. Perhaps only Chen Lian himself knew the real reason. Zhang Ziyi looked at Chen Lian lying on the grass and looking at the sky. He always felt that this man was like a mystery and no one could enter his heart. Zhang Ziyi was soon called away from filming. Chen Lian lay on the grass, looked at the bright sky, and said to himself, to experience the purest love. Chen Lian felt that he was becoming more and more indifferent. No matter how many women were around him, it was difficult for him to experience the taste of love. When reading the script of My Father and Mother, Chen Lian fell in love with the love in this story. It is plain and simple but so pure that it purifies the heart. Chen Lian felt that maybe he should experience the feeling of being secretly loved by someone and see with his own eyes how others fall in love with someone. I want to see what it feels like to love someone. Chen Lian's scene with Zhang Ziyi ended before a while, and then it was time for Chen Lian, the mascot, to appear again. The village wants to build a school, and the whole village comes to help. Luo Changjiao, played by Chen Lian, is a teacher from the city. He builds a house with the villagers, and every household in the village comes to deliver official meals. When the new house is built, the beams must be wrapped in red cloth. The red cloth must be woven by the most beautiful girl in the village, and Zayadai is that girl. On the set, Chen Lian was wearing thick clothes and a Chinese tunic suit. He was working with the villagers with a smile on his face. The tree trunks with stripped bark were the support of the new school. The materials used to build the house were very simple. There was no reinforced concrete or even a single red brick. There were only adobe bricks mixed with straw. Luo Changjiao stood on the hillside and picked up a piece of wood and handed it to the villagers next to him. On the slope opposite the construction site, there were several long stools with official meals sent by each family on them. Zhao Di looked at Luo Changjiao's figure in the construction site from a distance, with a smile in her eyes, but she was afraid of being discovered. She smoothed her hair and put the rice bowl in her hand on the table made of stools. The blue and white porcelain bowl is particularly different among all the rice bowls. Zhao Di hopes that teacher Luo can choose the rice she cooks. This is the most timid and purest way for a girl to have a crush. I only dare to approach secretly, hoping that the other party can have more interactions with me, even if the other party doesn't know anything. Just like when I handed in my homework in high school, I would look through the class's homework books, find the name, and then put my own notebook with him. When filming the scenes of Zhao Di, Chen Lian was always watching from the side, watching a girl's secret love and carefully expressing her love. Delivering meals, fetching water, and even waiting for chance encounters on the path, but in the end someone shyly hid in the woods to take a look from a distance. Chen Lian really doesn't have many scenes, maybe no more than 10 minutes in the whole movie. There are even fewer lines. This role is the easiest role Chen Lian has played, but it is also the most attentive role he has played on the set. In the play, Zhao Di is watching Luo Changjiao every day, and outside the play, Chen Lian is watching Zhang Ziyi's acting every day. Sometimes Zhang Ziyi would catch Chen Lian's eyes, and his heart would suddenly throb, as if Chen Lian had a crush on him. The grassland in late autumn was very cold. After Zhang Ziyi took a shot, he quickly put on his thick cotton padded jacket. He glanced at Chen Lian calmly and then put it back. He's looking at me again. Zhang Ziyi felt like a deer in his heart, suspecting that Chen Lian liked him, or he was hinting to himself that at the age of 19, who didn't have fantasies. Zhang Yumo sat in front of the monitor and noticed Zhang Ziyi's changes. He glanced at Chen Lian and then looked away. He feels that this situation is very good. The beautiful misunderstanding of Zhang Ziyi's current love is just right for the role of Zhao Di. Many times Zhang Ziyi's performance would surprise him. He felt like he was seeing the second Gong Li, but he still felt a little uncomfortable. The second Gong Li also fell in love with Chen Lian. Zhang Yimou quickly forgot all these thoughts in his heart, busy adjusting the situation on the scene, and then called Chen Lian. "It's the last scene, you'll wrap it up after filming." Zhang Yimou looked at Chen Lian and said. Chen Lian nodded. In the last scene, he only had a long view. In handling the emotional scene, Zhang Yimou used a lot of blank space, just like the fantasy of a secret love. The newly built thatched hut is the school in the movie. It is a small room with only one room. The tables and chairs inside are very old. A dozen children sat there and looked at Chen Lian obediently. These children's faces were all red, and although their clothes were very shabby, their eyes were bright and clear. Although the children were very curious about making movies, they all sat there and watched Chen Lian walking in. Chen Lian liked the eyes of these children very much. They were as pure as the blue of the sky, without a trace of impurities. There were no cameras in the room, but Chen Lian still led these children to read the text like a teacher. The sound of reading spread outside the house, and many people gathered in the small courtyard of the school, all listening to the sound of reading in the house. Teacher Luo came back to recruit Di and also came back for these children. She took huge risks by sneaking back when she was under investigation. Zayadai, who had been lying at home with a high fever for several days, opened her eyes when she heard the sound of reading. Her mother sat at the end of the bed and said, "This time it's true, Teacher Luo is back." Zayadai's originally cloudy eyes immediately lit up, and strength surged from her weak body. She struggled to sit up, put on her clothes, and ran toward school anxiously. As she approached the school, she fell into the snow, but Zayadai got up immediately and continued running towards the school. When Zhao Di came to the school gate, the closed door of the classroom suddenly opened, and Luo Changjia walked out. The two people's eyes intertwined through the villagers, looking at each other affectionately. At this moment, Zayadai was sure that Luo Changjia loved her, and she was also sure that she would never fall in love with anyone else except him. Neither time nor distance matters at this moment, they only have each other in their eyes. In Luo Changjia's eyes, Zhang Ziyi was suddenly in a daze. He didn't know whether the person facing him was Luo Changjia or Chen Lian, and whether he was Zayadai or Zhang Ziyi. If possible, she hoped that it was Chen Lian who was looking at her instead of Luo Changjia. The scene ended quickly, and Chen Lian also withdrew his gaze. Zhang Ziyi watched the affection in Chen Lian's eyes disappear instantly, and suddenly felt as if a piece of his heart was dug out. Everyone on the crew was congratulating Chen Lian on finishing filming. Zhang Ziyi bit her lip, took a deep breath and walked over. She looked at Chen Lian and said, "Congratulations, Mr. Chen." If possible, she hoped it would not be finalized. She hoped that Chen Lian's look just now was not staged. Chen Lian looked at Zhang Ziyi, his heart moved and he reached out and patted her on the head. Chen Lian's small movement seemed to open up all the emotions that Zhang Ziyi had been holding back. Tears suddenly overflowed from her eyes, and she covered her mouth and looked at Chen Lian while choking. When the people around him saw this scene, their expressions froze for a moment, feeling surprised and normal at the same time. Who doesn't love Chen Lian? Not to mention Zhang Ziyi, who plays with Chen Lian. Some girls in the crew also have a good impression or secret crush on Chen Lian. Chen Lian just looked at Zhang Ziyi and her eyes, as if he was looking into her heart through her eyes. At this moment, he seemed to suddenly understand what it felt like to like someone. Zhang Ziyi sobbed and looked at Chen Lian. Hearing the people around the crew talking quietly, he turned around and ran away. A young prop in the crew couldn't help but joked, "Teacher Chen won't go." But before he could finish his words, he was pulled by his master. The props team leader smiled sheepishly at Chen Lian and begged his apprentice. Chen Lian just glanced at it and then withdrew his gaze. He looked at Zhang Ziyi, who was running away, shook his head slightly and left. The little girl loves to cry, and she will get used to it after crying a few times. There are many people who like her, and Zhang Ziyi is lining up. Moreover, there were so many people on the crew, so why did Chen Lian go over to coax Zhang Ziyi? Those who didn't know thought Chen Lian had done something to Zhang Ziyi. Li Shui, who had been outside the camera, saw Chen Lian coming and immediately came over and said, "Mr. Chen, do you want to leave tonight or wait a day?" Zhang Yumo came over at this time and said, "I have worked hard during this period. I promised to finish it 1 month ahead of schedule. Director Zhang is indeed very fast." Zhang Yumu looked at Chen Lian and muttered in his heart, "The best thing you can say is to make a movie." Zhang Yumo cursed in his heart, but still said on the surface, "Now the snow on the road has melted and the road conditions are not good. You'd better rest for a day and wait until it freezes tomorrow morning before leaving." Chen Lian nodded and said, "Thank you." Zhang Yumo went to work again. Chen Lian turned to look at Li Shui and said, "Then take a rest for a night. You and the makeup artist of the crew can spend the night together." Okay, Li Shui nodded and agreed. On the other side, Zhang Ziyi, who had been hiding and crying for a while, cried even more sadly before Chen Lian came to comfort him. Even no one else on the crew came to comfort him. Zhang Ziyi felt extremely pitiful and wiped away tears while sobbing. Zhang Ziyi wiped away her tears, sat alone for a while, and then ran back, but Chen Lian was no longer on the set. "Is teacher Chen gone?" Zhang Ziyi grabbed a person and asked. "I don't know. I just saw him leaving with his assistant. I wonder if he has returned to the capital." Zhang Ziyi let go of his hand and felt disappointed. He left without even saying goodbye. He was not even a friend. Zhang Ziyi raised his head and looked at the sky, sighed, turned and walked towards his house. When passing by the house where Chen Lian lived, Zhang Ziyi subconsciously walked in, wanting to see where Chen Lian had lived. As soon as Zhang Ziyi opened the door, she saw Chen Lian sitting inside and talking on the phone. At this moment, she suddenly felt like a village was full of bright lights, and she subconsciously walked up to Chen Lian and hugged him. Chen Lian, who was on the phone, frowned and looked down at Zhang Ziyi, stretched out his hand to hold her breasts and wanted to come up to kiss his head. He said to Li Fujian on the other end of the phone, "I have something to do here, I will get back to you later." Zhang Ziyi was also distracted at this time. He didn't know why he was so crazy just now. He wanted to let go of Chen Lian's hand, but he was a little reluctant to let go. He simply gritted his teeth and pretended to be dead to the end, holding Chen Lian tightly and not letting go. He had heard about unspoken rules before, and today he treated Chen Lian as the unspoken rules. "I wish you all a happy holiday." "I don't take a holiday, ha 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 ha. Woohoo, damn capitalist. Forget it, if I don't have a holiday, I will work overtime until 9:30 tonight, I want to die." There is another chapter that will be updated later. Finally, I wish you a happy time. Fringe artists in the entertainment industry. Author, Chizu de Xiaomao. Chapter 403. Chapter 389-388. The last bit of dignity. The room was eerily quiet. Zhang Ziyi could only hear the thumping of his own heartbeat, and felt a sense of risk-taking pleasure in his boldness. Giving Chen Lian unwritten rules is better than giving it to others. During this time, Zhang Ziyi secretly felt that the director had other ideas for her, but he just didn't say it outright. If he hadn't gotten closer to Chen Lian during this period, or if he had changed to a different male protagonist, he might have been hidden. Without Chen Lian for comparison, Zhang Ziyi might have gritted her teeth and turned off the lights and resigned, but now she didn't think about it anymore. Instead of being with the bad old man, it would be better to be with the person she likes. After Zhang Ziyi thought about it thoroughly, he no longer had so much psychological baggage. He seemed to feel that he was not born to resist this kind of thing. It's just that Zhang Ziyi seemed to have overestimated her charm at this time. She was wearing a floral cotton padded jacket and large black cotton trousers, with messy hair, having cried just now, and wearing hospital makeup, which was really unattractive. Chen Lian looked down at Zhang Ziyi's smart eyes, with determination to fight but also a bit of jerkiness and fear. Chen Lian frowned and said, "Let go." Zhang Ziyi buried her head in Chen Lian's arms and pretended not to hear, smelling his scent and feeling so comfortable. Chen Lian raised his hand and pinched the back of Zhang Ziyi's neck gently. Zhang Ziyi instantly felt that he had no strength and almost fell to the ground. Chen Lian grabbed Zhang Ziyi's floral cotton padded jacket with one hand, threw her on the bed, then arranged his clothes and walked out. "Li Shui! Come here," Chen Lian shouted before turning back and looking at Zhang Ziyi. Zhang Ziyi lay on the bed and felt her body slowly regaining consciousness. The panic in her heart dissipated a lot. Tears rolled in her eyes and she looked at Chen Lian with tearful eyes. "Why do you give me false impressions if you don't like me?" Chen Lian looked at her without saying anything. He heard Li Shui's footsteps outside the door and said, "You gave yourself the illusion. I'll pretend that what happened today never happened. Go out with my assistant." After Li Shui, who had walked behind Chen Lian, heard this, she turned sideways and looked at Zhang Ziyi and said, "Miss Zhang, come with me. Mr. Chen needs to rest." "I won't leave." Zhang Ziyi may have given up, or realized that if he lost this opportunity, he would never have another chance. He shrank to Chen Lian's bed and stared at Chen Lian with misty eyes and tears. Chen Lian's expression became even colder and he glanced at Li Shui. Li Shui felt like his scalp was going to explode. Zhang Ziyi was looking for death. Still want to create some scandal? Add a talisman to yourself. This kind of thing is the most annoying. Li Shui doesn't like such people. After Chen Lian went out, he looked at her and said, "It doesn't make sense for you to be like this. Mr. Chen doesn't like such people. Besides, on your terms, it's not even close to climbing into Mr. Chen's bed." Li Shui's words were very hurtful. Zhang Ziyi was naturally unconvinced and stared at her. Just when she was about to speak, she heard Li Shui continue, "It will not do you any good if today's incident spreads out. Don't tell Chen I will always treat you no matter what, even if any woman from Mr. Chen wants to block you, it is just a matter of words." Zhang Ziyi was stunned for a moment. Before she could react, Li Shui threw another mirror to her and said, "Look at yourself now. No man will be attracted to you." Zhang Ziyi subconsciously picked up the mirror and took a look. He was completely stunned. Who is this crazy woman in the mirror? It can't be me, right? No way, no way. Miss Zhang, you are so young that Chen will never argue with you. Don't make any more mistakes and leave now. Li Shui gave her a cold look and turned around and went out. Outside the house, Chen Lian was sitting in the car and saw Li Shui getting in the car and asked, "Has it been dealt with?" "It's taken care of, Miss Zhang will leave soon," Li Shui said immediately. Chen Lian smoked a cigarette and sighed, looking at the gradually dimming sky outside the window. After a while, he said, "How is your sister lately?" Li Shui's expression also softened, and she said with a smile, "The company arranged for her to take on a film, which has been filmed and is ready to participate in the Singapore International Film Festival." Chen Lian nodded slightly and said, "Although the Singapore International Film Festival is a small film festival, it is still somewhat famous. You can make arrangements later and get an award for your sister." "Thank you, Mr. Chen," Li Shui said happily immediately. Chen Lian smoked a cigarette and said nothing. He looked out the car window and Zhang Ziyi ran away with red eyes and a face full of embarrassment. Li Shui also saw it and couldn't help but sigh and said, "You are such a smart little girl, why can't you be clear-headed? I'm young and haven't experienced much in the world, but it won't be easy in the future." After Chen Lian said that, he opened the car door and went back to the house. Li Shui sat in the car and thought about the meaning of Chen Lian's words just now, wondering if Chen Lian still had some interest in Zhang Ziyi. Otherwise, Zhang Ziyi would not be spared so easily. Otherwise, if you look at Zhang Beizi, who is 1 year younger in Xiangjiang, you will know how tolerant Chen Lian is to Zhang Ziyi. Li Shui cleared her thoughts and felt that she should pay attention to Zhang Ziyi in the future. Li Shui recorded this incident in a separate memo, which contained information about Chen Lian's people of the opposite sex that he couldn't figure out. Zhang Ziyi, who returned to his room on the other side, silently wiped his body with cold water and changed out of his clothes. Zhang Ziyi looked at his face that was pale from the cold in the mirror, took out his cosmetics, carefully traced and applied the eyebrows lipstick. It just took a long time to apply makeup successfully. Taking a cold shower in this weather made her a little feverish, and her hands kept shaking while applying makeup. Looking at her beautiful self again in the mirror, Zhang Ziyi pursed her red lips and smiled, then picked up the hairpin that Luo Changjiu gave to Zhao Di in the movie and pinned it in her hair, turned around and went out. It was not to fight to the death again, but just to let Chen Lian take a look at herself. She didn't want Chen Lian to think of herself as the same embarrassed image in the future. Just leave the last few beautiful thoughts and make a perfect exit like a princess. There is a lonely light bulb hanging on the wall of Chen Lian's house. He sits under the light bulb and reads a book, and he can also use the temperature of the light bulb to keep warm. Boom, boom, boom. There was a knock on the door outside. Chen Lian looked at the book and asked without raising his head, "Who is it?" Zhang Ziyi outside the door took a deep breath and said, "Teacher Chen, it's me. I'm here to apologize to you. I have something to say to you." Chen Lian didn't stop flipping through the book and said calmly, "There's no need to apologize, and you don't need to take it to heart and go back." Zhang Ziyi felt even colder when he heard Chen Lian's cold voice. He couldn't help but shudder. Then he straightened up and said, "Teacher Chen, would you like to meet me once? Just once. I want to tell you in person sorry." The room fell into silence. Chen Lian's voice did not appear again, and the fire in Zhang Ziyi's eyes that was still burning disappeared when he stood at the door. Just when she was about to leave, Chen Lian's footsteps came from inside. The sound of slight footsteps instantly ignited hope in Zhang Ziyi's heart. Chen Lian opened the door and looked at Zhang Ziyi outside the room. The white moonlight made the whole earth bright. Chen Lian could clearly see Zhang Ziyi's special makeup, but he also noticed that her body was shaking slightly. "Say what you want to say." "Teacher Chen, can I come in?" "No, it's so cold. Let's go back and rest early." There was a slight flash of disappointment in Zhang Ziyi's heart, but he still showed a sweet smile to Chen Lian, looked at Chen Lian and said, "Teacher Chen, I'm sorry, I was too involved in the afternoon scene and took the emotions out of the scene." Chen Lian didn't expose her lie but just nodded and said, "I know, I don't care. You can go back and have a rest early." After saying that, Chen Lian was about to close the door. Zhang Ziyi quickly stopped him and said, "Teacher Chen, there is one more thing." Chen Lian paused before closing the door, frowned slightly and asked, "Is there anything else?" Zhang Ziyi took half a step back, spread his hands and turned around, then looked at Chen Lian and said, "Teacher Chen, please remember me now, my name is Zhang Ziyi." Chen Lian felt a little interesting, looked at her and said, "I remember, there is a beautiful girl named Zhang Ziyi." Zhang Ziyi looked at Chen Lian, smiled slightly, waved and turned away. When he turned his back, he silently thanked Chen Lian in his heart. Thank you for giving me dignity, thank you for protecting a girl's last fantasy." Under the tungsten lamp, Chen Lian picked up the book and read a page before putting it down. He reached out to turn off the light and huddled under the quilt to sleep. Chen Lian and Li Shui drove away from the set early the next morning. In the direction of the car, in a forest not far away, Zhang Ziyi stood on the hillside looking at Chen Lian's car and waved gently. After returning to the capital, Chen Lian rested for 2 days and talked to Mr. Zhou about Zhang Ziyi. Mr. Zhou jumped up from the sofa, looked into Chen Lian's eyes, blinked his big eyes a few times and then said, "You have really changed. If you had seduced her before, you would have eaten her." Chen Lian pushed Mr. Zhou's head away and said, "Don't think that of me." Chen Lian couldn't find the right words to describe himself for a while, mainly because the positive words had little to do with him. Seeing Chen Lian's embarrassment, Mr. Zhou couldn't help but jump on Chen Lian, hung on his neck and said, "You are embarrassed to praise yourself, but you are better now. What am I sorry for? I can sit up straight," Chen Lian replied harshly. He hugged Mr. Zhou and walked to the bedroom. He pretended to be angry and said, "You dare to laugh at me, and I will make you kneel down and beg for mercy today." Mr. Zhou said with a smile, "Are you kneeling down or begging for mercy?" "Kneel down first and then beg for mercy." "Then it depends on how powerful you are." You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Fringe artists in the entertainment industry. Author, Chizu de Xiaomao. Chapter 404. Chapter 390-389. Zhou women, please teach me how to draw. It's almost December in a blink of an eye, and Magic Flute has been online for a month and a half. Although Chen Lian has been in Bashang during this period, he has been paying attention to the situation of Magic Flute. The Magic Flute music website is currently developing the best and has already started its first round of financing. A pure music website has no future, but Magic Flute's mechanism is very complete and it was the first to establish mature electronic copyright. Li Fujian also invited many independent musicians to join, and created a singer account to upload his own songs for users to download and listen to for a fee. After more than a month of hungry marketing, Magic Flute Player has become completely popular. With the blessing of music websites, users can easily download songs without looking for resources. The most important thing is that downloading songs online is much cheaper than buying records. Lixen's production capacity has gradually caught up, and a large amount of inventory will be released on Christmas Eve to boost sales during the holiday. Li Fujian is busy flying around now and has complained to Chen Lian several times. It's not that she thinks Chen Lian doesn't do anything, but that she wants Chen Lian to accompany her. The Magic Flute is like their child, but your father ran away from home to play, and you did nothing even at home. Chen Lian has plans to go to New York in December. Firstly, the Miss Universe global competition has begun, and the contestants from China are going there, and secondly, to see the current situation of the Magic Flute. Chen Lian is not that concerned about the Miss Universe contest, it's just a trivial matter. Originally, Chen Lian did not plan to lead the team himself, but Cheng Shifen fell ill, so Chen Lian took the players from China with him. On the plane flying to Shenzhen, Chen Lian looked at a document passed by Jifa, which contains some details of her cooperation with Bernard, as well as some work reports of Wang Zuxian in South Korea and Japan. Chen Lian looked at it for a while and felt that Jifa and Wang Zuxian handled it well. He turned another page and saw a box office share report. Chen Lian looked at the report and couldn't help but smile. He almost forgot that he had also invested in 2 big smoking guns owned by Guy Ritchie. In August, 2 smoking barrels won the grand prize at the Tokyo International Film Festival, and was released in the UK in October. The box office performance was very good, just like what Chen Lian remembered. It earned £28 million. If converted into RMB, it would be almost 400 million. The exchange rate is really a bonus. Chen Lian closed the report and handed it to Li Shui next to him and said, "There is a share of the box office share in it. You go back and talk to Jifa and give her half, and the rest will be put into the company account." Okay. Li Shui took the report and opened it and took a look. She couldn't help but be surprised. Chen Lian could get a share of nearly 100 million yuan. Even if half of it is given to Jifa, there will still be more than 40 million. It is not a small matter for such a large amount of money to be transferred into the company's account. It can buy the company directly. Li Shui looked at Chen Lian and asked, "Do you want to report to Mr. Chen? Do you have any specific plans for this fund?" Chen Lian rubbed his temples and said, "There are no specific plans, just talk to her later." "Okay," Li Shui's tone was inexplicably excited. He hesitated and looked at Chen Lian and asked, "Teacher Chen, it would be a waste to leave so much money in the company without using it. Do you want it?" Chen Lian opened his eyes, glanced at her and asked, "Do you have any ideas?" Li Shui nodded immediately and said, "I have an immature idea." Chen Lian looked at her for a while and then said, "Then make a plan and show it to me later." "Thank you, Mr. Chen." Li Shui felt very happy now, which meant that she was recognized by Chen Lian. This was more than 40 million, not hundreds of thousands or millions. Chen Lian knew that Li Shui was capable and had good learning ability, but he did not expect that she would grow up so fast. However, her growth ambition or ability will depend on her subsequent performance. The plane landed in Shenzhen soon. Chen Lian went directly to Xiangjiang without staying. Cheng Shifen was ill, so he naturally wanted to take a look and meet Zhang Guorong by the way. Some time ago, Leslie Chung was promoting a movie in the mainland, but Chen Lian didn't meet him. He called and nagged him for a long time. Zhang Guorong is Chen Lian's best friend, and he is also Chen Lian's nobleman. Without his help, he would not have been able to make money during the Mexican financial crisis, let alone use the money to establish Leixin. What's more, there is Mr. Tang, a person who has helped me so much. If you give people a share, it is a share, and the friendship is a friendship, so they must be separated. After Chen Lian arrived in Xiangjiang, he went directly to the hospital. Cheng Shifen's illness was quite sudden this time. Li Shifen from the ward saw Chen Lian coming in, a smile appeared on her pale face, and she said in a hoarse voice, "You are here, and you come to see me even though you are so far away." Chen Lian sat by the bed and said, "I definitely want to come and see you. How do you feel? Is the problem serious?" Cheng Shifen coughed and said, "It's nothing serious, I just didn't get enough rest. The doctor said it'll be fine just to rest for a while." Chen Lian poured her a glass of water and fed her to drink it before saying, "Thank you for your hard work some time ago." Cheng Shifen smiled and said jokingly, "I didn't expect that one day I would be able to let you feed me water. This illness is worth it. Stop joking, have a good rest." Chen Lian smiled and helped Cheng Shifen lie down, sitting there and talking to her. Outside the ward, Li Shui was sitting on a chair and reading documents when she suddenly heard someone calling her. "Assistant Li, long time no see." Li Shui looked up and saw that it was Zhang Beizi. She closed the document in her hand and stood up and said, "Miss Zhang, long time no see." Zhang Beizi was a little excited. He didn't expect that Cheng Shifen asked him to come to see her today because Chen Lian was here. Zhang Beizi glanced at the ward and asked, "Is Teacher Chen in there?" Li Shui nodded and asked, "Miss Zhang comes to see Sister Shifen." "Yes, Sister Shifen helped me a lot, and I am very grateful." Zhang Beizi looked at Li Shui and paused for a moment before saying, "Assistant Li also helped me in Paris before, and I always remember it in my heart. This time I come here Xiangjiang, I want to treat you to dinner as a token of appreciation." Li Shui smiled and said, "Miss Zhang, you're welcome, but you don't need to eat." "Assistant Li, give me a chance." "No, it's not good for you or me if we get too close." After Li Shui finished speaking, she sat down and continued to look at the documents in her hand. Seeing her ignoring him, Zhang Beizi sighed inwardly, knocked on the door of the ward and walked in. In the ward, Chen Lian looked back and found that Zhang Beizi was here. He nodded to her, then looked at Cheng Shifen and said, "Sister Shifen, I'll leave first. You have a good rest." "Okay, I wish you win more tonight." After Cheng Shifen finished speaking, she glanced at Zhang Beizi, hesitated for a moment and said, "Beizi, send Lian off for me." Originally, Zhang Beizi was a little disappointed when he saw Chen Lian leaving, but now he felt happy when he heard Cheng Shifen's words. He immediately put down the things in his hands and said, "Okay, Sister Shifen, I'll come see you later." "Okay, go ahead." Chen Lian glanced at the two of them and did not refuse Cheng Shifen's request. The sick must be given special care. Zhang Beizi followed Chen Lian out. Cheng Shifen looked at her back and said to herself, "I can only help you so far. Seize the opportunity yourself." When Li Shui saw Zhang Beizi coming out with Chen Lian, she was still a little confused, but as an assistant, the most important thing was to ask questions that should be asked and just pretend that she didn't see anything. Zhang Beizi followed Chen Lian and whispered, "Is Teacher Chen here specifically to see Sister Shifen?" Chen Lian hummed and asked, "Has your movie been finished?" "The filming has been completed and has just been completed. It will be released in January next year." After Zhang Beizi finished speaking, he tentatively pulled Chen Lian's hand and said, "Teacher Chen, someone wants to sign me." "Do I want to sign with the company?" "Who?" "From the Xiang family," Chen Lian asked. Zhang Beizi immediately nodded and said, "Yes, Sister Shifen asked me to ask your opinion. They are not easy to mess with in Xiangjiang. Ignore them, they're just a bunch of young and dangerous guys." Chen Lian's calm voice made Zhang Beizi immediately calm down and said happily, "Then I will reject them." "Teacher Chen, do you have an appointment tonight?" "I think so." "Tomorrow, I have something to do tonight." Chen Lian interrupted her directly, turned to look at Zhang Beizi and said, "Ask your agent to ask Sister Shifen to help you arrange it. If she asks, just tell me what I said." "Okay." Zhang Beizi felt as if she had received reassurance. She had wanted to sign a contract with Cheng Shifen before, but Cheng Shifen didn't agree to let her ask Chen Lian. Now that she has the answer, she is not so worried. Chen Lian got into the car after leaving the hospital. Zhang Beizi waved to Chen Lian through the car window and waited until the car left before turning back to the hospital. In the car, Chen Lian looked at Li Shui and said, "Go back and tell Jifa that the new brand's spokesperson in Hong Kong will be Zhang Beizi." Li Shui nodded and took notes, sighing that Zhang Beizi's life was pretty good. At night, in Zhang Guorong's villa, Chen Lian absent-mindedly touched Ma Zhang. "Hey, what's going on with you?" "Pay attention," Zhang Guorong urged Chen Lian, who hadn't drawn a card for a long time. Chen Lian glanced at his cards and casually played out a six-cake. Tonight's mahjong was not interesting at all. Wang Zuxian was not here and the princess was not here. The ones playing mahjong with them were Lin Qingxia and Lu Jialing. Without the beautiful Wang Zuxian to talk to him, and no black stockings to sneak around, Chen Lian played without passion, which resulted in him losing all the time. Zhang Guorong was so happy that he hadn't won so happily in a long time. After playing all night, Chen Lian didn't know how much money he had lost, but looking at the thick wad of money in front of Zhang Guorong, he estimated that he had lost at least more than 200,000 Hong Kong dollars. In the restaurant, Leslie Chung was eating the breakfast cooked by Chen Lian and said to Lin Qingxia and Lu Jialing, "How about it? Anza's craftsmanship is pretty good, right?" Lu Jialing said with a smile, "I have heard you say it so many times, and this time I finally tasted it." Lin Qingxia also smiled and said, "I lost money and made breakfast again. I'm afraid Lian won't want to play with us in the future." Zhang Guorong joked, "He won't be so stingy. How much money it costs is not as much as he makes in an hour." Both Karina Lau and Lin Qingxia thought Leslie Chung was joking, teasing Chen Lian for opening a bank. Chen Lian just smiled and had no intention of showing off, and his net worth did not mean he really had that much money. However, Zhang Guorong put it down for him and said seriously, "Really, he is worth several billions. Tang told me yesterday that he made a lot of money in Europe and the United States, and he created some kind of website. That's tens of millions of dollars in one round of financing. A large part of Magic Flute's funds were given to Li Fujian through Mr. Tang, so he has been paying attention to the situation of Magic Flute and knows the current valuation of Magic Flute very well. Lin Qingxia and Lu Jialing were both stunned. They didn't expect that what Leslie Chung said was true. Isn't it a joke to be worth billions? I knew Chen Lian was rich before, but I didn't know he would be so rich. Selling VCDs in mainland China is so profitable, but what kind of website is so powerful? Of course it's great. The financial newspapers in Xiangjiang have reported on the situation on Wall Street. Mr. Tang came over with the newspaper and looked at Chen Lian and said, "Lian, when will the second round of financing for the Magic Flute start?" Chen Lian put down his knife and fork and said, "Are you interested?" Mr. Tang shook his head and said, "A few of my clients are interested, but I am not qualified to participate in your financing." Hearing Mr. Tang's words, Lin Qingxia and Lu Jialing were slightly surprised. Isn't he even qualified? Do you want to be so exaggerated? During the financial crisis, Mr. Tang was often in the newspapers, and they had seen news about the crackdown on Wall Street. Mr. Tang is now well known in the financial circles in Xiangjiang. With Chen Lian's reminder and guidance, he made a lot of money during the financial crisis. Now his clients are all wealthy families in Xiangjiang. Chen Lian looked at Mr. Tang and said, "The second round will take a long time. I will inform you as soon as there is news. However, the current situation is not as optimistic as you think. Investing in the internet is okay in the short term, but it is not recommended to hold it for the long term." Mr. Tang understood the meaning of Chen Lian's words, nodded and said, "Okay, then I know how to tell my customers, you eat first, I go to work." Zhang Guorong looked at him and reminded, "The tie is crooked." Mr. Tang looked down, straightened his tie and left with a smile. Chen Lian rolled his eyes for a while and ran away after breakfast to catch up on some sleep with Zhou Huimin. "Let's have dinner with Zhang Beizi in the evening, and we'll be in New York tomorrow." Zhou Huimin's life is very peaceful. He doesn't have to make movies or make records. He just paints at home every day. It's just a bit boring and he always thinks of the time when Chen Lian taught him to paint. Brief but wonderful. Sometimes, there is a moment in life when you feel that your life in this world is not a loss. However, people are always greedy and will still want more. After meeting Chen Lian, Zhou Huimin was so happy that she didn't even care about the gifts Chen Lian gave her. She just wanted to be with Chen Lian, preferably painting together. Chen Lian didn't remind her that the box contained a card with a lot of zeros in the balance. She would see it when she turned around anyway, so he should teach her to draw first. Money is worthless in front of art. Chen Lian sat behind Zhou Huimin, holding her with one hand and holding her hand with the other to teach her how to draw. When she was painting alone in the past, Zhou Huimin always thought that Chen Lian could teach her how to draw. But when Chen Lian really came, she had no intention of painting anymore. Zhou Huimin twisted a few times restlessly, causing Chen Lian to make a wrong stroke on the canvas. "I don't want to draw anymore." Zhou Huimin raised her head and looked at Chen Lian's profile and exhaled. Chen Lian looked at her and said, "When it comes to painting, the most important thing is persistence. You can't stop painting in the middle of the painting." "But I don't want to draw anymore. There is one more chapter that will be later. I have to celebrate the holidays when I get home from get off work. I don't have much time to code, so I will leave the second chapter later." Fringe artists in the entertainment industry. Author, Chizu de Xiaomao. Chapter 405. Chapter 391-390. Rescue the Fallen Girl. There are many kinds of painting postures, and there are many kinds of painting materials. Human beings are always not satisfied with the existing art forms and painting materials, and they never return on the road of exploring art. Perhaps the predecessors were too good at painting, or perhaps the descendants were limited by traditional artistic thinking and found it difficult to reach historical heights in traditional painting. Innovating with the old has become the only way out. Every night, countless artists scratch their heads and think about how to innovate in art. But sometimes it's useless to think too much, just keep doing it. Chen Lian looked at the fine beads of sweat on the back of Jo Women's neck, and watched her concentrate on painting up and down. She would paint to the deepest point every time, and then pull the brush to the highest point, and so on over and over again. The brush is very wet and full of water stains. This is what gouache painting is. Painting is easier when there is more water. Jo Women is best at gouache painting, perhaps because she seems to be made of water. After an unknown amount of time, Jo Women suddenly pulled the brush up and out of her control. The white paint on the brush was all thrown onto her body. The spots looked more like works of art than the gouache painting. Chen Lian looked at the completed painting and breathed out lightly. Although he didn't move much, he provided the brushes and paints as indispensable objects for this painting. After a long period of creation, Jo Women completely fell into silence after all his inspiration burst. He lost all his strength and lay weakly on Chen Lian's lap. After resting for a while, Chen Lian picked Jo Women up to rest. The early winter in Xiangjiang is also warm. Chen Lian likes the winter here very much. Even if the heating is not turned on, he can take a bath comfortably. After playing mahjong all night last night and painting with Jo Women in the morning, Chen Lian felt a little sleepy. He quickly dried himself off and then carried Jo Women to the bedroom and fell asleep deeply. When Chen Lian woke up again, it was already past 5 o'clock in the afternoon. Jo Women had already woken up and was sitting on the sofa in the living room with bare legs looking at the gift Chen Lian gave him. A beautiful diamond necklace, and a bank card. Jo Women didn't know how much money was in the card, but with Chen Lian's character, he couldn't get away with a small amount of money. Jo Women didn't guess, just threw the card aside, facing the sun and admiring the sparkling light of the diamond necklace. Chen Lian walked over and took the necklace from her hand, and said softly, "I'll put it on for you." Okay. Jo Women raised her slender white neck and felt the cold diamonds falling on her collarbone. The thin platinum chain wrapped around her neck and then slowly hung down. The diamonds sparkled on Jo Women's collarbone. For a moment, it was not clear whether the diamond was beautiful or Jo Women was beautiful. Chen Lian admired it carefully for a while and said, "When I first saw it, I thought it was particularly suitable for you. Do you like it?" Jo Women looked at Chen Lian and asked. Chen Lian raised his hand, ran his fingers across Jo Women's collarbone, and finally stopped on the diamond pendant and said, "I like it." "Do you like it?" "I like it if you like it," Jo Women said with a smile. Under the sunshine outside the window, Jo Women's smile shines brighter than diamonds. Chen Lian saw himself in Jo Women's eyes and saw the smile on his face. He was also happy at this moment. Some people like to receive gifts, but others like to give gifts. Chen Lian likes to give gifts very much and likes to see others feel happy because of his gifts. The gift is not important, what is important is the emotion gained. Just like painting, the painting itself is not important, the happiness brought by painting is important. You see, the essence of many things in this world is actually the same, and they all involve philosophical thinking, and art is just a part of philosophy. Hong Kong is very beautiful at night, but this beauty can only be seen if you live high enough. People who live in pigeon cages cannot see these beautiful night views. When they open the window, they can only see another gray building. The only comfort is the evening wind, she is fair. Zhang Beizi stood by the window and enjoyed the few fairness and tenderness in the city. This city is very interesting. Movies talk about brotherhood and loyalty everywhere, but in fact the relationships between people are cold and rude. Trust has always been a luxury here. Zhang Beizi's family is broken, her father is a gambler, and her mother has been married many times, so she doesn't trust anyone, but she trusts Chen Lian very much. Perhaps Chen Lian was too far away from her. How could a person like that standing in the clouds deceive an ant? It may also be because Chen Lian did everything he promised her. He went to Paris and stood in the world's largest fashion show, and returned to Hong Kong and became a hot star girl. Zhang Beizi slowly closed the window, and the silence outside was cut off. The chatter and quarrels in the room also brought her back to the real world. She was still standing in the lowest quagmire in the city. She wanted to climb up, leave the quagmire, and stand on the brightly lit mountain, overlooking the entire Hong Kong River. Tonight is her chance. Zhang Beizi knows very well that this is the closest she has ever been to that mountain. As long as she seizes the opportunity, she can get out of the quagmire. Downstairs of the building, a black Mercedes-Benz was parked quietly. Li Shui sat in the car and looked at the other side of the city through the car window. It wasn't until she saw Zhang Beizi walking out of the dilapidated building that she slowly came back to her senses. Li Shui looked at Zhang Beizi and felt that she didn't belong here by nature. Even if she didn't have today, she would have left here sooner or later. Li Shui pressed down the car window and smiled at Zhang Beizi for the first time, smiling slightly at her. Zhang Beizi walked to the car, opened the door and got in. He didn't see Chen Lian, but he was not surprised. He just wondered why Li Shui smiled at him. Li Shui didn't explain anything, just told the driver to drive. Zhang Beizi put her hands on her knees to calm down. She didn't know where she was going or what was waiting for her, but she was willing. The car arrived at its destination soon. Zhang Beizi looked at the scenery outside the car window and wondered why he came here. This was not a hotel or a restaurant. This was different from everything she expected, and she started to get a little nervous. Li Shui looked at Zhang Beizi and said, "Miss Zhang, Mr. Chen is waiting for you inside." Zhang Beizi turned his head and looked in the direction Li Shui pointed, feeling a little surprised in his heart, but he felt it was not surprising. This is Chen Lian's Wave Art Space. Zhang Beizi turned to look at Li Shui and asked seriously, "Am I beautiful today?" Li Shui was silent for a moment and said seriously, "It's beautiful." Hearing Li Shui's words, Zhang Beizi smiled and said thank you softly, then opened the door and got out of the car. Li Shui watched her leaving in silence for a while before letting the driver drive. Today she also understood a truth. Everyone has their own suffering and their own way of living. It cannot be said to be noble or humble. If you are not in that position, you will never know what other people's suffering is like. There were not many lights on in the closed art space. Chen Lian stood in front of a painting and looked at the girl in the painting. A sad girl by a small window looked at the sky and was crying. This is a painting by a Xiangjiang artist. Chen Lian doesn't know his name, but he likes this painting very much. Zhang Beizi saw Chen Lian, walked behind him quietly, and looked at the painting. Neither of them spoke, just admiring the painting. After a while, Chen Lian finally said, "Do you like this painting?" "I like it," Zhang Beizi replied softly. Chen Lian reached out and took down the painting and said, "Then I'll give it to you." Zhang Beizi took the painting and held it in her arms. It was the first gift she received from Chen Lian, and it was also the most special gift she had ever received. The painting may not be valuable, but she really likes it. Chen Lian turned around and continued walking into the art space, and Zhang Beizi followed behind him holding the painting. There were only two of them in the huge space, and there was no communication between them, but Zhang Beizi felt that he had never been so close to Chen Lian. This silence was not broken until Chen Lian finished reading all the paintings. "Are you hungry?" Chen Lian turned around and looked at Zhang Beizi and asked. Zhang Beizi happened to be standing under the spotlight, holding the painting and nodding lightly. Chen Lian thought for a while and said, "How about cup noodles? I haven't eaten them in a long time." Zhang Beizi was a little dazed, looked at Chen Lian and said with a smile, "Okay." Although she had just eaten it at noon, and although she had eaten it many times since returning to Xiangjiang, she still felt that tonight's cup noodles would be different. After a while, Chen Lian came back with 2 soaked cup noodles, and the two of them sat on the steps of the art space eating cheap instant noodles. Zhang Beizi was still holding the painting in her arms and eating the noodles in small bites. She didn't know if it was an illusion, but she felt that the noodles tonight were much more delicious than those she had eaten before. Why does the noodles you give me taste so much better? Zhang Beizi looked at Chen Lian and asked. Chen Lian put down the noodles in his hand and said, because you used to eat because of survival. You had no choice. All you ate were the poverty and hardships of life. Now you have a choice. You can eat as much as you want or eat as much as you want, choose it because of convenience or nostalgia, not because it is cheap and can satisfy your hunger. Zhang Beizi was stunned for a while and said, do I have the right to choose? Of course. Chen Lian wiped the corner of his mouth and said, since you walked into my room that night. Chen Lian stood up and turned to look at Zhang Beizi, stretched out his hand and said, have you finished eating? Zhang Beizi looked at the remaining half of the noodles, and suddenly felt an impulse in his heart, as if he had read something in his throat. After a while, he looked at Chen Lian and said seriously, not yet. Hearing Zhang Beizi's answer, Chen Lian suddenly laughed, took back his hand and said, okay, I'll wait for you. I'm waiting for you. Zhang Beizi's tears suddenly flowed down, and he sobbing while eating the noodles that were almost cold. Zhang Beizi somehow thought of the movie he had just finished filming and the line in the movie. I support you. Zhang Beizi cried just like the scene where he cried in the car that day, but this time the tears were not staged. Zhang Beizi finished his meal crying and threw the painting in his arms on the ground, as if throwing away his broken past. He stood up and hugged Chen Lian, stood up on tiptoes and kissed his face. Originally I wanted to drive, but after writing this, I didn't want to after all. Chen Lian is not really teacher Chen. Okay, I've finished writing and went to bed. Only then did I realize that the previous chapter had not been published.